Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Give me a minute while I bring my guest on board. I'm still waiting for everybody to come in. Hey, how you doing, Justin? Nice to meet you.
What's going on, sir? How are you?
All right. I'm just waiting for. Did you send a link? Were you able to send a link to Prince?
I did. Yeah, he was almost home. He had to go run an errand, but he'll be back in just a minute.
All right, cool. We'll wait for Laura to come in. For those who are tuning in, I have the pleasure of speaking with the one and only Justin Brown. He is a committee member of the USFMMA, United States Federation of Mixed Martial Arts. And also, he's a man of many hats. He's a referee, he's a judge, and he's been a part of organizations such as IMAF, International Mixed Martial Arts Federation, and USFMMA. And also, he is judged on some prominent MMA organizations that you may watch on a regular basis, you know, outside of this COVID-19. Also, he's on the committee of USFMMA. Hey, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I didn't mention your BJJ student also. How's that been going?
Oh, it's good. Well, it's currently not going. Everything's shut down. But yeah, I've been involved with grappling jiu-jitsu for about almost 7 years now at Spartan Academy Mixed Martial Arts in South Carolina. Yeah.
Okay, welcome aboard there, Prince. How you doing?
Hey, doing beautiful. How about yourself?
I'm fine. We're waiting on Laura Sanchez. You know, I just introduced Justin Brown, and also the ones that's tuning in. Here's Prince Rivera, very experienced mixed martial artist, competed multiple times on the national level, and he himself, along with the other competitors, going to be joining me. Laura Sanchez, they was part of the team who visited Singapore last year, just on the brink of this COVID shutdown, and they was able to go in there and compete against multiple countries and did an outstanding job. How you been holding up there, Prince Rivera?
Man, I'm doing my best. You know, I'm more of an entrepreneur, also training, but, you know, most gyms are shut down. So I've been, you know, just hustling, and I found out my wife is pregnant with twins. So, you know, looking to support that, and, you know, just learning new adventures, as you could say. More of an entrepreneur. So, you know, looking to support that, and, you know, just learning new adventures, as you could say.
Congratulations there, Prince Rivera, on the twins, man.
Thank you.
Hey, Justin Brown, I want to start with you, man. You know, can you talk to the fight fans and tell them a little bit about the backstory of the USF MMA and an intricate role that is playing in raising mixed martial arts up in the amateur ranks and to the Olympic status?
Sure. Well, from the global perspective, there's been a big push to achieve Olympic recognition for the sport of MMA. It's been going on now for about 6 years, a little over 6 years now. Prince has been involved with that for several years of that, over half of it. I've been involved since kind of on the ground floor on most of it. But, you know, it's kind of diverged into a couple of different paths. So we'll see which one ends up inevitably obtaining Olympic recognition. But what we do, I was the founder of the United States Federation of Mixed Martial Arts, a nonprofit organization here in the U.S., supporting amateurs to try to help us achieve the goals that we need to achieve in the United States to help support that Olympic recognition goal. So it's a lot. We do a lot of things as an organization, from regulatory side to supporting athletes to helping athletes compete internationally, and you know, that's kind of our main objective, is to continue to build this so we can support these amateur athletes going to compete for the USA internationally.
How much you know, of a role have you played in getting with other individuals in mixed martial arts to support you in this journey, you know, and raising this awareness?
You know, it's hit or miss. You know, some people are adamantly opposed to the sport of MMA achieving Olympic recognition, but the majority of those that I talk to just don't understand what it would help do and what it would help create. So, you know, even a good friend of mine, Kevin McDonald, is just, you know, he's always kind of spoken against it. But, you know, even talking to him, he's still a good friend of mine, and we differ on that opinion. But I think that there's a lot of merit to it. You know, when we compare sports like boxing, what the professionals make in a pro boxing match versus a pro MMA match, the reason that there's so much more money in boxing is because there's a massive ground level, and there's, you know, a wide base of that triangle. There's a lot more amateurs, there's a lot more youth, there's a lot more things on the lower level that help support that professional side of the sport. MMA is a fairly new sport, so we have a long ways to go.
Wow, thank you for the education there. Laura Sanchez finally made it on deck. How you doing, champ?
Good. How are you guys doing?
I'm cool. Hopefully you're not too tired. I know it's been tough for the fighters during this COVID-19. Let me introduce Laura Sanchez. You know, she was also on the team that visited Singapore last year in 2019 to compete on the national level, and she was able to bring home the gold medal. Also in the process, um, she was able to win her first professional fight and most recently signed to PFL, Professional Fight League, which we're going to talk about a little later. So congrats on that, Laura.
Thank you very much.
So, Justin, you know, why is there such a difficult, I don't know, energy to support amateur mixed martial arts when boxing has been doing amateur boxing for so long? Why would it be any type of resistance?
I think the sport of MMA has a lot of resistance in general because the perceptions of the cage. You know, if you were to take the same sport and do it within a ring, which is what we did at Gamma, then people just seem to more appealing to the average fan or the blue chip level sponsor. When you put adults in a cage and forbid when you put kids in a cage even, and those pictures get out to the media, no matter what we're doing, it just has that appeal of a little more being barbaric and whatnot. But I think that's one of the biggest distractions that we have, unfortunately. There's a reason why we use the cage. It's very important that we have the cage for what we do for stand-up grappling aspects. The ring is not as safe, but that's one of the big things that kind of stops blue chip level sponsors and the average sports fan to supporting MMA.
Sound words there, Prince Rivera. You know, what's your take on it? You've had several, times where you had to compete on this level of mixed martial arts. You've been in the game for quite some time. How has it, what's your perspective on it as a competitor?
I mean, it's I like the day-to-day tournament aspect. Fighting in Singapore was definitely a learning experience. That the format. I mean, I only fought one time, but I'm pretty sure like the guys that did fight 5 times in 2 days, that was a much grueling process compared to fighting one time for 5 days straight. When I was on the national team 2 years ago, I made it to day 3 of competition, and on day 3, that was pretty hard and tough on my body. But it was also, to me, like the best experience in the world. I've been training since I was 5 years old, so I've competed in multiple tournaments. So these world tournaments of MMA is just an amazing experience overall. And I mean, I hope it does, it will become an Olympic sport. I don't hope, just because of the recognition that it is getting, with people like Justin, leading the way. I mean, there's no reason why we can't become an Olympic sport. Mixed martial arts should get that recognition. And that's kind of why I pulled away in the sport, just because of exactly what Justin said. In the beginning, the pay wasn't as much as it is. It's growing now, but the pay wasn't there all the way. And now that it is starting to get up there, it should be up there with boxing. There's no reason why it shouldn't. The Olympics will definitely push us as far as that capital coming in to that next level.
All right, thank you, Prince. Hey, Laura Sanchez, give us your feedback on what you was able to learn in this sport, and what's your take on amateur mixed martial arts?
It's great for experience. I know a lot of fighters who, they fought amateur matches. I don't know how many. I think someone I knew did like 20-something matches as an amateur. It's great for experience to really get the feel. And then when you take part in a tournament, I never experienced anything like that before. So it's like, yeah, typically you're getting ready for one fight, a fight that can last 3 rounds. But then in the tournament, you're getting ready for multiple fights, and you're going to do them in the same day. So, if that's not going to be not just like a mental challenge, but physically, it's like leading up, like, oh my God, I have to get ready more. I have to be in better shape than a regular match. So it's like you don't know what to expect, so you grow mentally just going through that entire process. I personally learned a lot just from going to Singapore, because before my amateur career, I had like a year in between each match. So going into the tournament, I had 2 matches in the same day. And personally, right after the first match, it was like, okay, I'm ready for the next one. So, you do a lot of growth taking part in a tournament like that.
Outstanding. Thank you for those words, Justin. You being in Singapore also, what was some positive that you took from that tournament? One of your primary sponsors is Gamma Global Association of Mixed Martial Arts. How was that experience for you, being that you actually have an intricate role as a referee and a judge in combat sports?
Yeah, for me, I've been judging and reffing for a while now. It's something that I wanted to do, and that's kind of how I got involved in this side of it. I was looking for other avenues to be able to officiate, because where I live in South Carolina, it's very limited. So reaching out to other organizations, other third-party sanctioning bodies, and they spoke to the ISKs of the world, and even the U.S. Muay Thai organization, and several others, and just was able to start refereeing for other avenues. And I ran across, IMAF trying to make a push towards Olympic recognition, and that's kind of how I got involved on the international side and supporting the U.S. side. Prince's coach, Bob Shermer, has been involved in it from the ground floor. He's been doing it from day one on the international level. So, I spoke with him for many years. He's actually on our coaches commission, and he went to Singapore with us. So it was nice to have his input there. But let's go back just slightly on Singapore. Gamma, what Gamma is Gamma is the international body. So for any Olympic sport, you have to have an international federation. And then all the national federations kind of report under them. So for us, Gamma is the international body that inevitably will achieve Olympic recognition. And when they do, then everything will defer down to the national federation. We're the only U.S. representative underneath Gamma. That's kind of how that works. But it was awesome to see one championship supporting us, what we did. And they're very involved, and they're doing a lot of stuff for not just amateurs, but pros. They signed at least 2 athletes directly from the Gamma World Championships to $100,000 contracts. And I know they're looking at several others that came out of Gamma as well, and looking for opportunities there. So it was awesome all around.
Is the format going to remain the same once you're back, active and competing in mixed martial arts? That goes for, Prince and Laura. You can answer this too, Justin. Is the format going to be the same as far as, 2 rounds, 3-minute apiece in the Olympics once you reach that level or not?
Let me go first. I'll just say from the perspective of what we do internationally, you have to fight multiple times in a day. So everyone does things slightly different. So the first couple fights were just 3 2-minute rounds, right? Where the typical average amateur fight is 3 3-minute rounds. So it was slightly shorter. But the day of semifinals and finals were 3-minute rounds. So, but for us on a normal fight night, like for Laura and Prince, if they're going to compete in the U.S., it should be under typical U.S. standards. So every state is different. The ABC kind of controls that, but like Laura, when she fights pro now, I believe Prince is still amateur, but if Laura's fighting pro, she's going to be fighting 5-minute rounds, where Prince will be under 3-minute rounds still until he gets his pro contract or decides to go pro with whatever state he's in. So again, it's kind of dictated on where you compete, but on the international level, it's always going to remain the same for consistency's sake. That's what we're always going to do. But again, when you compete in the U.S., you just don't know. It depends where you're competing and where you're fighting and what state controls from territory-wise.
Did the COVID-19 push that back from you all actually, having a presence? I know the Olympics and everything was coming up. Were you all projected for the next Olympics? Or
No. The Olympics right now, they're still under evaluation for MMA to be an Olympic sport. Our best bet is 2028 games in Los Angeles. The 2024 Olympics, I believe, is also going to get pushed back. I don't even know if they'll have it for multiple reasons, but the sport of MMA is actually illegal in France. I believe they just now got an opportunity to compete under their wrestling federation. They've approved some sort of MMA rules under that, but MMA has been illegal for a long time in the country of France, and that's where the next Olympics is going to be held. So the next chance for us to be able to do anything is going to be the 2028 games in LA, and that's kind of been the big target for not only us, but the UFC supporting that effort, One Championship supporting that effort, Bellator, Brave, everybody supporting that effort. All the big professional sides want to see MMA reach the Olympic Games.
Hey, Prince, how have you been holding up, man? I know you mentioned that your wife is pregnant with twins right now and everything, but how have you been able to get stay on tap with training and everything during this lockdown?
Hold on one second. I'm gonna need you to repeat that because I didn't hear anything you said. I'm about to jump on from my laptop. I literally just got home right
Okay.
now. I think you said to me.
I'll get back to you. It's all good.
Okay, I'm out on my laptop, so I'm ready.
Hey, Laura, I know you had a lot going on lately. I know you had a lot going on. And like I said before, congrats on the big move to PFL. Let's talk about that. You had a professional fight where you finished your opponent in dominating fashion. What happened after that? Who came and talked to you? What was the message like for Laura Sanchez, after winning your first professional fight and then getting the call up for PFL? How did that process go?
So I won the fight, and then typically I just leave it up to my coaches to figure out the next moves. I mean, that's the first thing Duke said to me when I decided to take MMA seriously. So I never really worried about reaching out, trying to hook up any of my own fights or reach out to anybody. I just trained, and I still continue to do the same thing. So after I won that match, I went back to Rufus and it didn't take very long for Duke to hook up with Sucker Punch Entertainment. So I'm working with Brian Butler from Sucker Punch, who he hooked me up with. Duke's known him for a long time. So I signed the contract, and then it was like 2 days later, they were like, hey, we got you into PFL. So they moved quick. But all I do is the same thing. I just keep training and just wait for the next thing to happen.
Who's going to be your first fight at PFL? I know the women's 155-pound division is pretty dense on that particular platform. Who's going to be your first opponent?
I don't know. They didn't tell me. So I didn't have a name yet. I just knew I just had to get ready.
The solid part, what I like about PFL is the tournament format, the playoff, as they call it. They call it the playoffs. So it allows you to compete, kind of remind me of the Grand Prix over in Japan back in the day and everything. How do you feel about that format?
I'm comfortable with it. I mean, it's newer in the MMA world. It's like otherwise you have just like fights every few months if you can get them. But I like the tournament because you're sure to fight. You don't really have to wait to find out when your next match is. So you know what's coming and you can just stay ready.
Justin, how you feel about that format, being that I believe PFL was previously World Series of Fighting, right?
The ownership was there's a lot of the same leadership between the organizations. They're different organizations, but yeah, they had a lot of the same leadership. Yeah, I like the tournament format. In fact, that's what we do for the Olympic recognition. The only way it works and makes sense is you can't have that many countries fighting against each other without having that tournament format. And that's what makes sense. I like it. It's awesome.
And you talked about the fighters. I guess they select one female and one male when you're at the national level, and then they award them 100,000. One female, one male, or each division.
No, that's what they tried to do at the World Championships. Is all of us, and I was actually on that group that got to help select those as well. But a lot of the officials and the leadership group within Gamma got to get together, and they decided how those $100,000 contracts were given. They decided that they wanted one male and one female. That's what one had asked for. I don't know if that's going to continue on this year. I know they're going to still offer the contracts, but I don't know if they're just going to say, hey, the two standout athletes, or keep one male, one female. It made sense. I think it's fair to do it that way to make sure that everyone's getting the right opportunities there.
Hey, Prince, I know you was unfortunately you drew the toughest guy. They end up getting third overall over there in the championship, man. You know what I'm saying? What was the experience like for you to get that work and go in there and compete? And then knowing that your opposition that you lost to at the time, he was one of the best in the tournament. What did that teach you as a mixed martial artist?
I mean, honestly, it was a whole different ball game. Having to fight. Normally, when I fight at 170, I weigh in one time. So I made that weight like 3 times in a row, cutting from 180. So it's either number one, stay at 185 to do that tournament, or number two, when I go into wherever I'm going for that tournament, to be at 170. So those are the learning lessons that I learned, because I do know that weight cutting every single day was taking a toll on my body. And typically I'm a slow fighter starting off, and we only got 2 rounds. So it's like, 3 rounds, but it's 2 minutes. And I just have to make sure I'm warmed up and, ready for the process. I mean, nothing to discredit the guy. I mean, he fought the strategy to his T and he won the match. But it was a fun experience. I mean, I loved it overall and, looking forward to competing again.
Appreciate that. And Laura, being that you was able to earn the gold medal standard over there, now that you made some moves outside of that competition, once this resume, are you planning on returning back to the USFMMA and compete, or are you pretty much focused on your professional career and you're going to stick to driving that?
I'm not sure. I didn't really think about that. I just take it one thing at a time. So as soon as I signed a PFL, I've just been concentrated on that. I don't know what opportunities are going to come in the future. So I don't really make those plans. I just, like I said, take one thing at a time.
What do you see as, the most difficult transfer over from amateur professional fighting on that platform?
You mean from going from amateur to professional?
Yeah, you had that professional fight, but now you're on a more of a playoff instead of somewhat like Bellator and UFC where you just compete. You know what I'm saying? You don't have a playoff. But in the PFL, you may compete, twice in 3 months or something like that?
Yeah, and I think for one of them, you fight twice in one night. I think that's the semifinals, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely nerve-wracking. Every fight is nerve-wracking for me. I'm nervous before every one. So at the end of the day, I know that before every fight, I'm killing myself in the gym to prepare for it. So the preparation doesn't change. There is just, working on different techniques, sharpening all your tools. I believe I have the best coaches to help me with that. So as soon as I was going professional, I started adding in elbows and knees to the face, all these different aspects, more tools that you can add to your game. So I think that I'm just ready. So I'm not really thinking about how much of a difference it's going to be. I'm just thinking about taking, like I said, one thing at a time, being in the best shape possible, working on all my tools like I do every day. So I don't really know how to say how different it'll be until I experience that.
Yeah, I know you mentioned how your opposition was closing the distance on you, trying to get in close, and you utilize your knees in close. You're on a crash course at the PFL with the champion, Kayla Harrison. There's no denying that. Being that 155-pound division, I believe you have 3 or 4 female competitors right now in your weight division. So, how do you feel about that? She won the first season, right?
Yep. Yeah. And I think that was last year that she won. Did she win 2 years in a row?
I think
2018 and 2019.
Do you know about that, Justin? Anything about?
I'm not sure. I think it's just one as well, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they just brought that division, introduced that division on deck. So I think she won the first year. That's all.
Yeah. I'm ready for whatever. I have so many teammates who are wrestlers. I have strikers. I have jiu-jitsu practitioners. So I train every aspect all the time. So I'm ready for whichever style I face in the cage.
Understood. Hey, Justin, can you mention some of the mixed martial artists that support, either active fighters or previous fighters that's definitely supporting USFMMA that's on board?
We've got a lot of pro fighters that support us and coaches all around the world. One championship supporting us. I got to sit down and talk with Chatri and myself one-on-one while I was in Singapore. We've got a good relationship and connection with them. I talked to them again this last week. So we appreciate everything they do. But as far as pros in the U.S., you had Dominic Cruz, who's fighting for the UFC title coming up. He's actually sits on our national board of directors. We speak regularly through other people as well. And Orlando Jimenez, who fights for Combat Americas, and he's got a huge pro trajectory coming up as well. He sits on our national board of directors. Angela Hill, a bunch of the UFC people actually support us as well. So we can go through a pretty big list. But if you look at our website, you'll see all the committees and commissions. It's loaded down with some of the biggest names in MMA. We're pretty lucky to have that. So they see what we're doing and what we're about, and being a full nonprofit and giving everything back to the actual athletes. So what we bring in has been different. There's not many people doing that. So for us, everything that we bring in from sanctioning and memberships and everything else goes directly back to the athletes. This year with COVID, it's going to be a little tougher because we've lost so much. We've like 8 or 9 events right now have been canceled for us from just inside the U.S. All our international events have been canceled for a while now, but we've lost out a pretty good bit of funding for our national team. So we'll get back on track. But yeah, I'm pretty excited at the level of support we have across the board.
Outstanding. I know you don't know too much about the forecast once this COVID-19 lifts and everything, but this year you all supposed, I think the location was Kuwait, right? Or did it change?
They were going to change it. They looked at Kuwait originally, and there were some logistical issues there, so they had changed it to Abu Dhabi, I believe. And that's still in the works. It's actually still on the calendar for December. We just don't know if we're going to be able to do it because so many countries have restrictions for flying throughout the end of the year, not just when this lifts, but there's a lot of countries who will not be able to make it, which means they also aren't training and they're doing a lot of other things. So logistically, it's going to be very tough, and we don't know what that outlook's going to be. I would personally, selfishly, I'd love to see us at least be able to pull off one international event this year. At the end of the year would be great if we could do it, as long as it makes sense and we can do it safely, right? But otherwise, all the other international events have been canceled.
Hey, speaking of safety, anyone on the panel, Prince, Laura, what do you think about Dana White trying to throw this UFC 249, the infamous, fight card, on the island, Florida, all over the place, man? Do you think it's a good idea for him to still push through the storm and try to put on this card PPV?
Who do you want to start with?
Go ahead, Prince.
Anybody?
I mean, me personally, I feel like it's a great opportunity to boost the ratings on the sport because it's the only thing that will be live. Nothing else is going on. Personally, also, I feel like it's good for the fighters because some fighters do live paycheck to paycheck. I know a few fighters individually that do fight in the UFC. So it's like, with everything going on, I mean, for me, it's a win for the fighters and, the publicity of the sport, I guess. Yeah, I would love to see it go on and go through.
Good stuff. What about you, Laura? It's only one women's fight on the card. I believe it's Carla Esparza versus Michelle Waterson, featherweight division. No, strawweight division. So what's your thought on that?
I think it's cool. I mean, no one is talking about putting on any fights right now. And then Dana White has been adamant about getting a fight going, a fight card put together. So the fact is that he's trying to do everything that he can to put the event on. And then it's like, if the fighters are ready, if they've been able to stay in shape and get their training, I mean, that'd be one concern. If I were on the card, I'd be like, oh man, I don't even have all my tools that I need, everything that I need to feel my best for a fight. But if they all feel like they can make that and make it still a great card, I mean, why not do that? With so many people stuck in their houses, it'd be a great thing for entertainment and a great thing for MMA.
That makes sense. Hey, Justin, how tough will it be for the fighters to travel down to that location, being that they don't have all their essentials? I mean, I'm not sure if you heard anything behind the scenes, but how strenuous will the test be for those fighters to go in there? They have to have their meals prepped. I mean, how much of a tedious process would that be, man, to set this card up May 9th?
I'm not involved in it, and they're being very secretive about it. Dana White's been specifically asked the question multiple times on if they're going to test the fighters and the coaches, and he just hasn't responded to that I'm aware of. So candidly, we just don't know until it happens. We don't know what we don't know. So let's see how it plays out. I can't imagine it's going to go as smoothly as normal fight nights have been going. So there's going to be a lot of logistical issues. But Dana White has built a $4 billion business for a reason. He's smart about it. This is going to be the biggest audience he's probably ever had in the sport of MMA because all the local regional shows are essentially shut down. Those guys can't afford to do shows without crowds. The UFC can. So from a marketing perspective, it's brilliant. From a logistics perspective, it's going to be extremely difficult, and we just don't know how that's going to play out yet.
Do you think at one point in time that, mixed martial arts will have amateur bouts, televised, outside the Olympics? You know what I'm saying? Because the national event, it's no way we can really tune into that, but do you think with the growth and everything for the amateur mixed martial arts, we'll be able to see it televised in the future?
Yeah, there's actually more amateur MMA on televised than you think. Like, King of the Cage has made its mark mostly doing amateur fights, and they're all televised on MAV TV. And they do pro fights as well, but they're showcased regularly on MAF TV, twice a week, and they're mostly all amateur fights. So there's a big opportunity for us. Even Glory Kickboxing they do televised events, and they allow amateurs on some of their cards and several others, and even Bellator. I've seen Bellator when they did their series last year. They had some amateurs on their card as well, and pros. So I don't know what all of that was televised and what wasn't. But there is an opportunity, and it is the goal for us that when we get large enough, we can get the recognition to have a televised national championship. It actually makes the most sense to do a televised show because let's say Laura from Milwaukee comes down and we're going to fight in Las Vegas or Florida. She can't bring her whole family and stuff down, but if that was a televised event, it would lend itself to a pretty heavily watched nationwide show, just like they do the karate shows and other things. But I think if we get to the point where we have 300-400 competitors, then we can breach that with the national TV stations and see where we can go. And we actually have some in mind that we've had discussions with. We just need to get a lot bigger and have more support.
Cool. The two veterans is on here, Prince and Laura, being that they may, move on and have an active MMA career on the professional level. What is the recruit process that goes into bringing more competitors on deck to be a part of the USFMMA team to compete? What is that recruit process?
Who's that question for?
Anyone on the panel? I mean, more so Justin though, since he's.
So for us, last year was kind of, we started this last year. Our USFMMA was started last year. We were part of another U.S. federation. We kind of split off because we felt some things weren't being done right for the athletes themselves, and I don't want to get into that. But almost everybody from that federation came over here to start USFMMA, and that was just February last year. So we didn't have the opportunity to compete at national championship tournament and to have everyone fighting their way on and earn their spot onto the team. So what we did is we allowed the coaches commission to take applications from other coaches about their athletes, and we basically, the coaches commission selected a team to go. And obviously Laura's coach sits on our coaches commission, but she's one of the most touted fighters in the U.S. as an amateur, and Prince has been involved for many years, and his coach is also on the coaches commission. So we had a big group, probably close to 100 different athletes that we had looked at, and they were selected out of that pool.
Hey Prince, what is something you can change, if you was able to compete next time around? I know I remember you telling me on the interview you got out there like 4 days early or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what would you change if you had to do it all over again? What would be something you change?
Either fight up a weight class or just make sure I'm down at my weight. I mean, coming into that, I think I was like every day cutting from either 178 or 180 down to 170. So either go up and fight at 185 or stay closer to 170. That's the only thing I would honestly change.
And for you, Laura, I remember you were speaking on your weight. It was too tough for you to cut down to 145, so you chose to stay at 155. Talking about, going overseas, what was the nutrition like? Trying to go out here and find a meal that fit your nutritional plan to stay on weight. Because we haven't really talked about, but can you explain to the fans what is the weigh-in process for competitors over there when you visit Singapore for the nationals?
So we weighed in every morning that we were there. What was that, 4 days in a row? So actually, if I'd had to fight at 45, I wouldn't have made it, period. So it's like, it was much more natural. I spent a long time getting my fight healthy down to about 160, and I weighed in under 160 each time because it was the 155 weight class, but we had to be between 155 and 160. So I weighed in under that every day, and it wasn't that difficult. I feel like I was in some of the best shape I'd been in, and I had a really healthy diet. And then as soon as I got over there, it wasn't very difficult because their food is pretty healthy. They had a lot of vegetables, they had some rice, some chicken and stuff. It wasn't that difficult. And I did bring a lot of my own stuff. So like my breakfast, I had, my little bit of oatmeal and some almond butter and stuff like that. So I was able to bring some things over to help me. But the nutrition there, their food is pretty clean, and it was not hard to stay on weight for me. Thankfully, I didn't have to cut like Prince did.
Yeah, for real. You ain't never lied. Was it like buffet style over there or what? I mean...
Well, at the hotel, they did have a breakfast buffet. And then they had some restaurants around the hotel that I went to just to see what they had. They also had a little area that it kind of reminded me of the mall because it had a bunch of restaurants inside it, and they were all next to each other. So I think we all took a trip or two down there. So yeah, that's where we went. But the breakfast was a buffet style breakfast.
Cool, cool. What about you, Justin? What is something that you learned over there that definitely you'll change up next time you step on deck?
You know, for us, for Gamma's first year, we learned a lot of how they're going to do things and what we should and shouldn't do as a team. But yeah, we've got a lot of things that we can do better from the international side as well as the national team side. I think we were pretty prepared. But for us, we want to move into what you were talking about before, is how we're going to make our U.S. national team. We want athletes to be able to earn their spot on the team. But above and beyond that, once they earn their spot on the team, we want to be able to fund that athlete, because these athletes basically had to pay their way to get to Singapore. We did give them a travel stipend, which covered some of it, but not all of it. So these athletes had to come out of pocket to get themselves to Singapore and to cover their expenses while they were there. So we want to be able to get that funding in place, that the athletes, once they make the team, they earn their spot fairly on the team, but then they're funded the whole way. So that's our biggest objective of what we need to start working towards, and that's something we're doing now. So that's the biggest thing we need to change.
Well, thanks for the education. I kind of knew about that, but it's good to know that these athletes put in hard work and dedication and funded their own trip to go over there, and also step in there to take punishment. That's just crazy all the way around, man. You're going overseas to compete, man, and you got to fund your own way. But yet, hey, that's always the process when you're bringing on something new. And that's good words to hear, Justin, trying to come up with a stipend, to fund these fighters. And all the athletes we see this day and time, it shouldn't be that difficult for competitors to be lining up to fight in this particular format. I mean, hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, partly. We've got a lot of opportunities for athletes and coaches that call us all the time. But again, a lot of it's the expenses as an amateur. These are younger athletes, and some of them are older with families and stuff too. And it's very hard to say, hey, fly yourself around the world to compete. If you look at other Olympic sports, they're extremely well funded, but they're not giving a lot back to the athletes. I'm not going to call any other sports out because it's just, I don't want to get into those arguments. But competing on the Olympic level for many sports is extremely expensive for an athlete all around. But we want to make sure from us that I'm worried about just us at USFMMA and our U.S. national team athletes. We want to make sure that we can fund them, at least their involvement in the national team. I don't know if we'll ever get to a point where we can give monthly stipends out. I'd love to see it get to that point, but it shouldn't cost them money to compete for the United States overseas anywhere. So if we can fund all their travel and expenses involved with international competition, that's where we need to be.
Appreciate that. Justin, thank you for your service. I know you are Army vet, and I wanted to ask you, have you even touched bases to try to source military competitors, MMA, mixed martial artists?
Oh, of course. There's actually a pretty involved program. The Army Combatives program was founded down here in the Southeast, so we're very involved, and we know a lot of those guys at Fort Benning, Fort Jackson, even though Fort Bragg. So we talk to those guys regularly, and they have their own combatives program. We were in discussion last year about possibly getting their winner of their tournament involved in our U.S. national team, giving one spot to that Army Combatives winner. But there's a lot of discussions there, so it actually helps us. I would like to bring more competition onto U.S. Army bases or federal bases in general. So that's definitely something we're already in works to do.
Sounds good, man. That's good to hear. Starting with you, Laura, any final words for your fight fans? I know you've been on lockdown. You don't look the happiest right now, but you seem like you're surviving. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I feel for y'all. I'm not gonna lie, especially the competitors, because it's no turn that you can take. Everything is locked down. If you don't have a gym in your house or equipment or whatever, you're kind of isolated to your quarters. You know what I'm saying? So any final words you want to say, your fight fans out there, Laura Sanchez?
Thank you guys for all the support. Just stay tuned. Everybody's locked down. We're all trying to do our best to get through this. As a fighter, I'm trying to do my best to stay in shape and try to keep my tools, as sharp as possible, but we're all in it. So, yeah, it sucks that we don't have our own gyms in our houses, but, we've had to make some of our own investments. So I'm doing the best that I can. So just stick with us, you guys. Keep following. Instagram is Laura Sanchez MMA. So give me a follow, and you guys will see me in the PFL tournament in spring of 2021.
All right, salute to you there, Laura Sanchez, and it's always a pleasure. Thanks for dropping in for World Combat Sports. Look forward to seeing you back in the cage once all this lifts and everything, and you're able to resume training.
All right, thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Hi, Laura.
Prince,
what's up?
You have a different hey man, congrats on the twins once again, but your life is gonna be entirely different, man. I can't imagine what it's gonna be like to have twins on deck, man. That's special. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you don't have one, two that potentially be at one point in time in your life may be able to teach some form of mixed martial arts. Something. What I'm saying? So that's gonna be special, man.
I can't wait, man. Just hearing you say that is bringing literally tears to my eyes, man. Just because I look forward to that legacy, that next chapter in my life. But I still have a lot left in the tank to show, and I know I do. So it's just finding that balance, that yin and yang, to just make sure that I still give it everything I got. And at the end of the day, when I look back 20 years from now, I just know that I gave it everything I got, So this year was the year that I was looking to turn pro, but, with everything going on, my training, honestly, I haven't been training at all. I started my own business not too long ago, and I'm providing for my family, training other people, teaching other people self-defense. So that literally just wiped away my whole income with everything going on. But little by little, things are progressing, and, I found out this blessing. So, I'm just holding my ground. That's it, and things are going to work out. And, I'm looking forward to competing again on a national team. And honestly, I do see myself winning that $100,000 contract, and, everything just levels up from there.
Hey man, your attitude is positive, man. Always, even when I interviewed you, man, you have a positive outlook on the competition and everything and who you face. And I want to wish you and your family nothing but the best blessings out here, man. Be safe out here, and of course, your family and everything, having those babies on deck when that time comes, man. Much success for you and your career.
Thank you. Looking forward to chatting with you all again. Thank you for having me on this, and see y'all soon.
All right, see you. Thank you.
Bye.
And Justin, hey, I appreciate you stopping through. You taught me a lot today as far as how the amateur process work, being that you are, one of the leaders, and you say also the founder. So you pretty much have a plethora of knowledge in this whole process, man. And thank you for stopping through, man. I'm always looking to get educated on this amateur mixed martial arts. I just look at it like this, man. I don't see it as a big deal for people not to support it, because you have amateur boxing out here forever and a day. You have amateur boxing where you have fights. You have fighters that have 300 to 400 fights out here amateur. But you take mixed martial arts and they get mad because the kid is executing kicks and punches, with protective gear on. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, you look at the youth stuff and what we're doing on the youth side. We work with USFL. I'm actually involved with the Youth Affiliate League that does all the big IMAF shows and stuff as well. John Franks, the founder of that. United States Fight League is the youth development side of MMA for the United States. They're really the only ones doing it to that level. So there's no head strikes allowed. So it's just body strikes and grappling. So if you look at that individually, everything is already allowed. Kids are already wrestling, they're already grappling, and they can do USA boxing and kickboxing. They're already Olympic sports, and karate and judo and taekwondo, all those are Olympic sports. So they're already doing all those parts and pieces that make up what we do as MMA and what's going to inevitably become youth MMA. But when they do that in a cage, it just has a bad connotation. We can do the exact same sport on floor level mats and nobody bats an eye. So a lot of that just comes with the perception of what they think MMA is. They see the the bloody stuff on TV. So if a kid's in a cage, that's just what they view or think we're going down the pathway towards, and we're not. So for us, we're getting there. We got a long ways to go till we get Olympic recognition, but I know that we're on a really good pathway to doing so. We're getting more support every day. So I want to thank everybody for following our social media pages and giving us that support. So we'll be back on our feet when we're allowed to continue to do shows again. Everyone will know. We are still shooting to do the Amateur World Championships with the U.S. national team in December. We won't know until the end of the summer whether that's going to take place. So until then, we're kind of in a holding pattern, and I hope everyone stays safe and everyone's doing well. Your families, athletes, coaches, gyms, friends, family, everybody stay safe. Keep up the social distancing measures, and we're here if anybody needs anything.
Hey, thank you very much. And for those who's turning in, it's Justin Brown, a man of many hats when it comes to this combat sports game, man. And I did read that you had at one point in time Mark Goddard. Basically, you refereed a fight or some. Mark Goddard being an active UFC referee and also a previous fighter. I believe he fought heavyweight. His record was 7-6, I believe.
Yeah, Mark Goddard's probably the best referee in the world. And I don't say that lightly. He's actually a friend, and he was actually the founder. He actually oversees all the IMAF referees. And when I was involved with IMAF, I was one of his lead officials. Basically, we broke everybody up into teams, and every time I'd go to an international event, I was one of the lead officials. Mark Goddard was kind of the boss, and he'd assign me as a lead official. But he's one of my mentors and just an overall a great guy and somebody I really admire and look up to. So he's one of the best to ever referee, and someone that I'm proud to have as a mentor. So yeah, Mark Goddard's just in his own league as far as officiating goes.
Thank you for that. Last question there, Justin. Being that I have to understand how this process works, how does drug testing work for the amateur level? How does that go, man? Is there any type of drug testing on the amateur level?
It depends what you're referring to. In the United States, there's virtually none because it's paid for by the promoter. So like the UFC, the Bellator, all the big shows, even One Championship, when they're drug testing, those promoters have the money to drug test those athletes. There's very few states that require it or mandate it legally. So there's no promoters in the United States that's going to drug test amateurs. So it's something that's heavily missing in the United States. In fact, all across the world, there's very few amateur leagues that do it. When you get to the international competition for the Olympic level stuff that we're doing under GAMMA, and even IMAF has done it, but what we're doing, the medalists will all be drug tested moving forward. And I know it's already being done on other levels, but anyone who medals on the international circuit will have to do what's called a WADA level panel. Same thing that any other Olympic sports and athletes have to do. WADA is the World Anti-Doping Agency. So anytime you see anyone involved with an Olympic sport, they've undergone what's called a WADA panel. And all our medalists, not just the U.S., but globally on the international circuit, they will be getting a full WADA panel done.
Thank you for that breakdown. And once again, something I did not know. So thanks for educating me on that. Once again, for you and your family, I hope everybody's safe out there. We really don't have a timeline on how long the lockdown is going to be for COVID-19. It's just crushing combat sports right now, Yeah. So a lot of people are looking forward to see if this UFC 249 card is going to take off, because if so, being that some regions are lifting their bans at the end of the month, this may kind of open the floodgates a little bit so we can see more platforms of mixed martial arts taking place.
It may not. I think I don't think that many promotions are going to make it through this until the gates are fully open. It's understood across the board from state to state that large gatherings are going to be shut down through the end of the summer. So whether MMA makes it back, now you have the few that are going to be able to do it without a crowd, right? Like your UFC One Championship's also coming back. Bellator, Brave, a few of the others will come back because their money's not made off ticket sales. Essentially, they make money off it, but that's not what funds their shows. They have massive marketing and media deals and sponsorships and packages that help pay for their events. Now, when you get to a local regional shows, all the big regional shows like NFC in Atlanta, and we got Conflict here. We have just all over the U.S. Valor Fights up in Tennessee. All those shows, they require that ticket sale to be able to sustain and pay for the event itself. They don't have the big TV rights and the massive sponsorships. So without a full crowd, those nobody can put on those type of events. So I think with the UFC coming back, it'll help. One Championship's also coming back with no crowds, and we'll see what comes of it.
Good stuff, man. Once again, thanks for the knowledge, man. That's something I didn't know a lot of that, with all the organizations and everything that happens on that level. But salute to you, man. Look forward to working with you sometime in the future. You got my number and everything like that. I'm supportive for USFMMA, definitely. So go out here and handle business, man. Continue to lead from the front. And once again, thank you for your service. Appreciate you stopping through for World Combat Sports interview.
Appreciate it. Anytime you guys want me to come on, happy to chat, happy to give an update, and everybody stay safe. Look forward to seeing everybody again when everything gets back to normal.
I salute to you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate everybody who stopped in briefly. Yeah, that was a plethora of knowledge, man. As far as, you know, the amateur mixed martial arts scene, I mean, it's so complex, not just to learn what's going on a professional level, but you have individuals that's on the amateur level and them trying to raise awareness with building an organization such as USFMMA up to that grand scale, compete nationally, and allowing younger athletes to go up there and compete against other countries. And it's tough. You know, as you just heard, there's a lot of times where the athlete may compete more than once in a day. So imagine you have to go in there and take less punishment as possible. You may not have, you know, all the essentials that you're used to. So you have to go in the first fight, hoping you win it, then leave, hydrate, get your meals or whatever. And if you're healthy enough, you have to go back in there and compete for another 2 rounds. And you know, you're competing against the best in the world. You know what I'm saying? That's very, very tough to go ahead and meet some of the best competitors in the world. And we're not talking about competition that's out of the YMCA. We're talking about highly trained mixed martial artists. We're talking about people who understands what the platform consists of. So, yeah, I was looking forward to seeing the USFMMA check in once again on the national level and see our competitors go out there and compete and, you know, see how we steadily progress year after year with this amateur mixed martial arts, and definitely look forward to seeing it on the Olympic level. I think it's a big contradiction that we can have boxing where you have fighters that participate in hundreds of fights, right? But then they're looking at mixed martial arts as being enclosed, where you enclosed and cordon off even inside ropes. You know what I'm saying? So if you have amateur level mixed martial arts where you wearing gear or what have you, and, you know, it should be taken into consideration that the only thing that's really different that people are going to frown upon, they look at the lower ounce gloves as being much more of a punishment to the fighter than the 8 to 10 ounce gloves that you may see, you know, in boxing. But it's been said over and over again, the boxing gloves being that how large and how many more ounces they are vice mixed martial arts, they may indeed draw more of a damaging effect or detrimental effect to the body, because it allows the fighters to strike much harder without worrying about breaking their hands. You know, just like bare knuckle fighting, you swing with maximum velocity and you don't hit the fighter in the right place. Just say you hit them on the forehead, potentially you may fracture your hand and break your hand. But with boxing gloves on, it allows you to punch with no optimism. You know, you can just go all out and land those punches, hard punches. And the gloves are there to protect the hands. That's it. I'm not sure where fighters are thinking that boxing gloves are there to protect the opponent, but boxing gloves is there to protect the hands. So you get the hand wraps and then you put on the boxing gloves and you go in there and compete. But with mixed martial arts, you know, you have 4 ounce gloves, which is very little padding. But then again, you have more of an opportunity to go in there and fracture your hand. And basically, you know, you come in with 2 hands that's perfectly healthy, but you end up breaking one of them. And we're talking about grappling. You know, you have to be healthy enough to sustain not only just striking, but then you have the option to go for kicks if that's in your repertoire, or your ground game. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully, you know, you have people out there that's able to take more awareness to amateur mixed martial arts and support it, provide sponsorships, because those are going to be the future, period. And I don't see too many people running away from mixed martial arts, to be honest. I think it's going to be a lot more people that's going to be tuning in and taking up the sport. It's already going on as we speak, but it's the difference between taking it up recreational and competing. So I truly believe it's going to be much more in about 5 to 7 years. It's going to be much more of an impact where people are going to tune in, just like they did from UFC 1 to, you know, when it became regulated to now. You know, people was back then, they were so sensitive to seeing all that, you know, fighters fighting at catch weight, you know what I'm saying? All the blood, the strikes that was allowed, kicking an opponent in the head while he was down, you know, the elbows, to now, you know, they're not as sensitive until it comes to kids. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to kids, people like, oh man, I don't want, but yes. I mean, any type of combat sports. Look at Taekwondo, kids getting kicked in the head, y'all, with headgear on and getting knocked out. Kicked in the head with headgear and getting knocked out. So if they're not allowed to throw elbows or head strikes and all this other stuff, you know, when they're coming up, and they're allowed to grapple, go to the body, what's so detrimental about that? You know what I'm saying? What's so detrimental about it? But yet people say, I'm going to put my kid in football. And the helmets, we ain't talking about, you know, glove size helmets are in. You putting your freaking kid in football with pads and helmet, and they crack it. That's the same damage. You know, that's CTE potentially too. You can get your kid knocked out in that perspective also. People don't really cross-thread the severity of contact sports in general. They just look at what they've seen on TV. You know, mixed martial arts has changed so much since the early days of the UFC. It's changed so much. You know, you have commission, regulation, all that. It's much more an organized combat sport now. The one thing that weapon that they took out of the arsenal that allows fighters to go in there and compete with over time was, of course, the head kicks to a downed opponent, you know, kicking opponent in the head. And then also you have the 12 to 6 elbow. You know, they took that out. And, you know, pretty much you can use 9 to 3 elbows, slicing elbows. You know, you can kick somebody in the head, you know, with both of their feet. It keeps changing to what a downed opponent really is. If it's one hand on the canvas or if it's two hands on the canvas, you know, they keep changing up to what a downed opponent is. Because if you have one hand on there or whatever, I don't know, man. A lot of things can happen. All you have to do is just, if you see a fighter bend over, you know, near him in the rib cage, that hand come up, and they're able to kick him in the head. You know what I'm saying? Any way to get that hand to raise up off that floor is not a downed opponent no more. So yeah. Oh my God. But I want to thank the panel who showed up. I want to thank Justin Brown, you know, who's a prominent, who has a prominent role, has many hats in his position in combat sports for the USFMMA, and then his history with the sport of combat, being a referee and a judge, and also a service member. He is a vet. He served in the Army. So salute to him. You know, salute to Laura Sanchez, who stopped through. She basically won the gold medal out there. Very tall, rangy striker, made moves when she returned from Singapore. They went to Singapore November 18th to the 23rd of 2019, right? So since then, you know, she's made moves, and she was able to turn professional, win her first fight. And now she's inked to compete in the PFL, the Professional Fight League, which is going to be great. I'm looking forward to seeing that. You know, one thing I can say about the PFL, they switched it up. I'm not sure how long it's going to last, of how many women that's going to be able to compete in the lightweight division, but they granted a 155-pound division. The UFC don't even have a 155-pound division. So we know Chris Cyborg, she's over Bellator. She's a champion over Bellator at featherweight. That's 145. But yeah, you know, Laura Sanchez gets the opportunity to fight the best, even though the line is short. I'm thinking, being it's a tournament style or a playoff style format, I believe more women would is definitely going to join to put their name in the hat and compete. You know what I'm saying? Everything when it starts off, you have people that's on the outside looking. You know, imagine Ronda Rousey stepping into the 135-pound division, and there was no other freaking division there when Dana White started the women's division. We're talking about Dana White, who said women would never compete, right? But imagine how that looked and divisions that they have now. They have the 115, the 125, the 135, and the 145. Growth. But Josh Talks UFC, what's good? D. Hodges in the building, salute to you. Perky, what's good? Miguel Sanchez on deck. Sharif Ali, I think she's over there in Minnesota. I'm not sure. She's with Rufus Sports, Duke Rufus, you know, legend in the game. That's her coach. Let me check. Tori Savage, salute to you. Thanks for stopping through the Nice Wars. Always a pleasure. Cool. You know, another vet on deck. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, D. Hodges said Horse Gracie. You know, I can say this about the Gracies, man. They was able to assign the format to benefit them. I'm not being a person that's a hater. I'm not being a media segue that's a hater on the Gracies. Absolutely not. But I'm just saying, from what I know, is that UFC 1 was absolutely set up for the Gracies to go in there and win. The only thing he had to do was make sure that what they was taught with BJJ, they went in there and applied it carefully. They was able to withstand the punches, take less punishment as possible, and make it all the way to the finals and win. And that's what happened. You know, the Gracies was fighting in a catch weight. What Horse was able to do was amazing. He was able to go in there and compete against guys who outweighed him 100+ pounds. But the one determining factor, the weapon that they had that no one understood, was the gi. But the Gracies truly understood what the gi was used for. And they went in there and applied it. They were subbing out their opponents using the gi. And of course, as the tournament progressed, hey, guess what? He took a little bit more punishment. Because we're talking about back then, man, we're talking about a lot of stand-up strikers, man, that was tough. They weighed a lot. And if Horse Gracie couldn't get them to the ground quickly enough, they probably took some punishment. So Gracie didn't go in there and just say, okay, let me shoot in for a takedown. Even though you can look at how predictable his BJJ game was back then. Like he will fake the front kick to the thigh sometime, you know, to get the reaction out of the fighter and then go in for the takedown. Even with him fainting over and over again with the kick, they still didn't know what to do. You had karate guys in there, taekwondo, you know, you just had guys in a whole nother discipline, nowhere even close to BJJ. Good point, man. Josh Talks UFC say UFC is happening. Cruz is about to beat Henry Cejudo. The only thing that was in the weight division, I seen little people, big people. Yeah, man. That was the amazing part of the early days of the UFC. Before regulation, it was brutal, y'all. That shit was absolutely brutal. Y'all, if y'all don't remember Goodrich, man, Jesus Christ. It was some big dudes that competed back then. You don't see that too much this day and time. Like Gary Goodrich, you know, Kevin Randleman. I can't exclude Fedor. You know, he went back there then, but you know, you had the Tank Abbotts, man. Who was extra big? You know, the Dan Severns, Don Fries. You know, you had so many huge athletes back then, man, that make you shake your head like, damn, that dude, huge. And then some other names that I forgot. They weren't well-known names, but in the early days of the UFC, they competed. You know, Chemo was back there. Yeah. Josh say, what's the fight you're looking to the most on the card? For me, it's got to be Cruz versus Cejudo. That would be my number one. Okay, that would be my number one on the card. On the main card. Okay, but also I'm looking forward equally. I'm looking forward to Francis Ngannou and Rosenstruck. They're the third fight. They're the third fight on the main card. You know what I'm saying? You have Gaethje Ferguson, and then you have Cejudo versus damn Cruz. And the third fight is the heavyweight. You have Ngannou against freaking Rosenstruck, two heavy hitters in the sport. Look, they both black fighters, man. They big, heavy hands. It's going to be crucial because Ngannou is trying to build himself back up to potentially face Stipe again. The hype went out the window when Stipe went in there and was able to get him tired, slip his punches, make him look a little bit amateurish, you know what I'm saying, when it came to the lack of dimensions he had in his fight game. So I remember people was building it up and talking about, oh, Ngannou, his power is that equal to Mike Tyson. And I'm saying to myself, but he can't box though. Stipe can actually box. And Stipe showed that. Ngannou is just like, he's a strong dude, but Ngannou is just headhunting. You know, he really didn't know how to set up his punches. He really didn't have the fundamentals that Stipe had to set up some solid combinations. So he's going in there with an equally powerful striker in Rosenstruck. I'm telling you, somebody, in my opinion, I'm going to be positive on the front side. Somebody's getting knocked out. That's the positive side. Somebody's getting knocked the fuck out. Whereas Rosenstruck or is it Ngannou? Somebody's getting knocked out. And like I said previously, their common opponent is Alistair Overeem. I think Alistair Overeem right now has 18 losses, I believe. So you look at both of them knocked out Alistair Overeem. But who did it better? I think Rosenstruck did it better. He split Alistair's top lip all the way up to his left nostril. Oh, man, it was brutal. So outside of Cejudo Cruz, I'm looking forward to Ngannou Rosenstruck. Hell yeah. I'm looking forward to that. And the third one, I will have to say on the preliminary card. You know, a lot of people probably say Ronaldo Sosa and Uriah Hall. A very interesting fight. You know what I'm saying? Middleweight, very interesting. You know, even Vincent Luque fighting Nico Price. That's going to be pretty decent. But somehow I'm kind of gravitating towards I'm kind of gravitating towards Jeremy Stevens. You know, Jeremy Stevens facing what's the dude he's facing? I mean, not Jeremy Stevens, Bryce Mitchell and Charles Rosa. That's the fight I'm looking forward to. Bryce Mitchell and Charles Rosa. I'm looking forward to that fight. You know, Jeremy Stevens, okay, you know, he's an entertaining fighter, but I'm looking forward to Bryce Mitchell and Charles Rosa. Charles Rosa's jiu-jitsu game is sick, but I'm curious to see if he can handle the stand-up. And then Bryce Mitchell, he's a strong country dude. I'm pretty sure. Look, I don't want to make up excuses for these fighters going through a crash course fight camp during this COVID-19. But with Bryce Mitchell, him being put in that submission and was being able to get out of it, he's going right back in there with a jiu-jitsu practitioner that could potentially put him in a predicament again, especially after seeing him get put in a submission on his last fight. But Bryce Mitchell is tough, man. I think he's one of the only ones who pull out. He might be the second to pull out that submission, that twister. Yeah, I think he might have been the first or the second one. Anyway, he's going in there against another jiu-jitsu guy, man, and it's going to be interesting. So, yeah, first, you know, Cejudo Cruz, definitely want to see that fight. And, you know, as much as I like Cejudo, man, I do. I like his whole persona, you know, Mr. Cringe. I like that. But my respect, I got to go with Dominique Cruz, man. I want to go with Dominique Cruz. Dominique Cruz, man. The way he came back and defeated TJ Dillashaw, if he's able to come back and defeat Henry Cejudo during COVID-19, dude's a freaking legend, man. Come on, man. He's already a legend, really. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying in this day and era, a lot of people don't know how to attach themselves to Dominick Cruz because he's been out the sport so long. But the dude is highly talented and very knowledgeable. So this is going to be very interesting, man, because I can tell you like this. Henry Cejudo, he's going to test those joints. He's going to test to see if those knees are good. Believe me. And one thing Henry Cejudo is going to have to do is he's going to have to make changes in there against a smart fighter like Dominick Cruz. Guarantee it, man. D Hodges said Rampage Jackson. Yeah, he retired, I believe. But you talking about power. You know, if Rampage is in the game, now you couldn't take Rampage power away. Rampage was one of the most, in my opinion, people didn't really understand how good Rampage was to the mainstream fans because they only link him up to who he's fought in the UFC. Not going back to his slam in Ricardo Arona. You know what I'm saying? Not going back to the legendary Japan days. You know? Josh said someone has to get knocked out in the Ngannou Rosenstruck fight. I agree, man. Somebody's getting knocked out. Somebody's getting put to sleep without Ambien. You know what I'm saying? The Ambien is going to be on the end of the glove. It's who connects first, man. I'm really curious to see how Rosenstruck take Ngannou's power and vice versa. Seriously, that's my only concern. I can't see this being a grappling match, but what I could see, once they get tired, just say no one gets knocked out and they go into the second round, I think we could see some cage clenching, hugging, dancing, and all that other shit. D Hodges say, if I was an MMA fighter, I'll practice take down the fence. Once you're on the floor, you done. Facts. Yeah, you have to practice takedown defense. And you know that, Hodges, it's a lot of fighters that's not well schooled in jiu-jitsu that has pretty damn good takedown defense. It's amazing how that shit works. Like, their jiu-jitsu game is not that good, but they're able to basically work on their takedown defense big time. That's what they was able to do against Damian Maia. You know. Okay, Justin Brown said Laura Sanchez is from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Yeah, that's where she's from. Where she trains full time, Rufus Sports. Appreciate the info. Josh said Bryson Mitchell has some hype behind him right now after this last fight. And that's all I'm saying. Bryce Mitchell, man, is that country guy who has a lot of hype behind him. He's very talented. He does have some work to do. But, you know, he was able to gain some fans with his submission. So he's going in there with a jiu-jitsu guy. It kind of takes us back to Kevin Lee and Charles Oliveira. I'm curious to see what the stand-up game is like. I've seen Charles Rosa fight before, though. But sometimes, I don't know, that goes out the window. Sometimes with jiu-jitsu guys, because they try to go in for the takedown, and just like we just talked about, take down the fence, strikes, punishing your opponent, it will somewhat degrade them from thinking about shooting in and going for the hips or the single double and try to get that takedown. So let's see what's popping. Perky said, you guys excited for the UFC 249? Of course, man. I think everyone's hyped for the UFC 249. Cruz very smart. D-Hard is not done, but harder you got to get them off you. A perfect example of takedown defense, which he's still working on. I use him a lot because he's a big guy, but yeah, he gets taken down and he isn't subjected to a lot of punishment while he's on the ground. And that's Derek the Beast Lewis. Derek the Beast Lewis, he went in there against freaking DC. You know what I'm saying? Derek Lewis is one of those guys who barely kicks, but he's getting better with his cardio, and he's not one of those highly respected guys that you can say, you know what, I need to be concerned about his jiu-jitsu game. Not with Derek Lewis, man. Derek Lewis is a big dude. In his last fight, man, he got put on his back, and it's not like he's getting subbed out every time. We're not talking about DC of any high level, heavyweight going in there, but he's working on his freaking takedown defense, man. He's working on not taking punishment on the ground. I'm not saying he's a total tyro, on his back, but fighters don't go in there with this threat saying, Derek Lewis is going to work for a submission, just like Yoel Romero. Yoel Romero will work for the takedown, but once he has you down, he barely keeps his opponents on the ground. He'll just try to land some strikes from the top, and that's it. I respect a fighter that'll go for the takedown and at least work their punches blended with submissions. You know what I'm saying? Be a triple, quadruple threat. It's possible. It's possible. Seriously. Cruz win a decision, in my opinion. We'll see, man. That's the only outcome I can see right now, being his injuries. But Dominique Cruz' jiu-jitsu game is on point too, man. Dominique Cruz is a 101 on his striking. I said that. The way he moves, he has his own type of rhythm. He's a 101 in this mixed martial arts game with that type of footwork and that rhythm that he has. And combine that with the angles that he's able to use with his kicks, it all depends on how healthy his joints are, how healthy his knees are. You know what I'm saying? Look, one thing I can say wholeheartedly that I'll say to Dominique Cruz's face, the man has tremendous heart. Seriously, Dominique Cruz has tremendous heart, y'all. That fight he was in against TJ Dillashaw, he was standing up there and his legs was literally shaking. So I can't imagine how much pain he was in during the fight. But for him to go all the way 5 rounds and he wasn't 100% all the way through that fight, he has heart, man. Tremendous heart. Tremendous heart, man. He's one of my favorite fighters, man. Dominique Cruz, bro. I don't care if he's been out the sport, man. Knowledge, his skill set, the way he goes in there and fight, yeah, I like that. I like him being different, 101. Cruz always come back after a couple of years out of the sport and put on a good performance. A lot of people think Cruz has zero chance in this fight, and that's wrong. I think Cruz wins. This event has to happen. Florida Governor, Mayor, all behind the event, and ESPN as well. I'm guessing Disney gave the UFC the go-ahead, and this has to happen. You're absolutely right. ESPN had his blessing, gave the blessing. And, of course, if ESPN had the blessing, guess what? It comes down to Disney making that phone call and saying, yeah, it's all good. Let's do this. We can go to Florida because it's not the land of Indians. It's not as sacred. Like I said before, without repeating myself too much, a lot of people is going to feel some type of way about that, about Dana White trying to put on a fight card during a pandemic, a global crisis on Indian reservation. No, that's not going to happen. So Governor Newsom took it upon himself to shut that shit down. D. Hodges said, I won 2 fights in a row with jiu-jitsu. Somehow I got the guys down and choked them out. Street fight. Okay, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. Never train. It's jiu-jitsu, I tell people, jiu-jitsu is one of those sports where you have to put in the mat time, because depending on the position you're in, on your back or in top position, you have to know how to handle that. It's like trying to fight yourself out of a freaking a web. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a web of death. You know what I'm saying? It's like trying to freaking tie your shoe rolling downhill. You still have to go through the thought process of zooming in as to what you're trying to accomplish. And in a lot of ways, you'll hear people saying, you're thinking 3 and 4 moves ahead of time. You're setting traps. Man, I'm telling you, jiu-jitsu is just an amazing sport. It's one of the most beautiful combat sports in the grouping that fighters are used to compete with. BJJ is amazing. I'm not saying you have to have BJJ to be a world champion. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the art itself, you have to put in the mat time. Unlike Taekwondo, Muay Thai, a lot of people can learn how to kick and look good at it. But if you walk into any school, BJJ, and somebody asks you to roll and you're claiming to be this belt, that belt, you better know what the fuck you're doing. So you walk in there, you better know what the hell you're doing, because you can't play jiu-jitsu. You can't play, man. Not with another person that's trained in jiu-jitsu. And this could be a kid out of high school. Look at Nate Diaz back in the day. Nate Diaz was a teenager up there fighting grown-ass men. That's just crazy. This event has to have, I read that. Am I the only one who thinks, you're speaking of Greg Hardy, am I the only one who thinks Greg Hardy is overrated? I'm just not convinced on the guy. He's a good athlete, but I'm not convinced. Yet on his MMA career. Well, Josh, I can tell you this, right? You don't have to be convinced, because Dana White's convinced to have him on the damn main card. Greg Hardy is on the main card, man. You know what I'm saying? Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy is on the freaking main card. Look, I say this all the time. How is Greg Hardy on the main card? What has this guy done? We're talking about him using a inhaler during the fight. We never seen that shit before in mixed martial arts. We never seen somebody take out an inhaler, to help their respiratory. I mean, come on, bro. If you play football, did you ever take an inhaler out of your pads? You know what I'm saying? In between plays, and then, give 2 shots. Come on, bro. That shit was embarrassing. That shit was embarrassing, dog. And everything that's behind Greg Hardy, for him to do that, it was clown. It was clowning, man. For real. That shit was clowning, man. But Greg Hardy, man, I'm not too sure as to why Dana White put him on the main card. He's fighting some guy named Yorgan De Castro, and he has this infatuation with trying to grow Greg Hardy. He sees something in him. He has a dog. He has that Kodiak bear in him, man. Greg Hardy's a savage type dude, man. Seriously. It may take him a couple of years to see what his full potential is. Seriously. But right now, Dana White, shit, he liked the guy, man. You think Derek Lewis can get another title shot in the future? Derek Lewis is nowhere close to getting another title shot at this point in time. And being at the division that he's in, I don't see it happening anytime soon. Even with DC retiring, I don't see it happening anytime soon. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. I like Derek Lewis, man. He's a good dude. Has nothing to do with my opinion on why he won't get another title shot anytime soon. I just think he needs to just work on his all-around game. And you know what? Derek Lewis is one of those guys that has knockout power at any point in the fight. He's proven that. He's proven that he can knock a dude out in the 4th round, 5th round. He just need to continue to work on his cardio and continue to get better. That's all we can say. But one thing a lot of people don't know, Derek Lewis has back problems. D. Hard just say, no, it was a reaction to fighting. Oh, okay, cool. I got you. That makes sense. Jiu-jitsu stuff can be used in a street fight if you know how to apply it properly. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. It can be very beneficial. But one thing about street fighting is biting. In jiu-jitsu, biting isn't allowed. But some of the unless you have back control, dominant back control or something. If you're working off your back in a jiu-jitsu fight, in a street fight, and you're applying are you working for some type of submission? Yeah, you can potentially get bit, to try to break that submission. If you all are fake, chest to chest or whatever the case may be, you might find somebody saying, damn, this dude was more skilled than I thought. Let me apply the bite method. You know what I'm saying? They might try to bite you in a sensitive area on your body to get out that submission. That's the one thing about the street fight, though. Teeth. You might die. Facts. Yep. Josh, especially in the Garbrandt fight, I think it was the fourth round. He got knocked down like 4 times and he kept going. That was a tough fight for Cruz, and he showed a lot of heart. Not to give Cruz any excuses. Cody Garbrandt at that time, man, he danced that night. Like Cody Garbrandt, the way he was moving around and avoiding, serious punishment from Dominick Cruz, he was grand, bro. Like he did everything right. Everything came together for freaking Cody Garbrandt. That he showed no love, man. Seriously. But I'm curious to see if Dominick Cruz was. I'm curious to give him full credit with being 100%. He might have came in that fight injured. I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm not trying to give a man excuses, but I'm curious to know if he was 100%. But Dominick Cruz got mad heart, man. That's what I'm saying. He has heart, bro. He's a different type of dude, man. And I'm only 140. Okay, damn. So 140, you'd be featherweight. You'd be on the brink of featherweight outside bantamweight. Got it. Y'all say after this fight, Cruz will fight Peter Yan at the end of the year, and after Yan fight, he'll retire. That's my big prediction. Okay, we'll see what's up, man, because I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm thinking Dominick Cruz lose this fight and just say it's in a bad way. 2 bad ways: submission or knockout. The worst bad way would be knockout. You just don't see Dominick Cruz getting knocked out, first of all. But he's been out the sport for quite some time. I believe since 2017 was his last fight. So I don't know, man. If he get knocked out, why go up there and face somebody that's up and coming like Peter Yan and there's no title on the line? Look, the fun thing about Dominick Cruz is that he has the people. Look, Dana White is allowing this man to return to the sport to face TJ Dillashaw for a championship. Now return to the sport to face Henry Cejudo during the COVID-19 for a championship. Man, he is loved. DC is loved, man. Like, shit, they're allowing this man to return to the sport. Who else can get that shit besides John Jones? Who else? Besides John Jones, who else out besides Dominick Cruz, John Jones, come back to the sport after being laid off and get title shots? No, it was a reaction to fighting, national defense. Josh said the reason everyone knows who Greg Hardy is in MMA is because he pulled out an inhaler. Who does that in a fight? Terrible decision by him in his corner. Totally agree. Yorgan De Castro has been knocking everyone out. He's an underdog in this fight. So if you're putting money on this card, you should put it on him. See, the part of that I look at differently is Yorgan De Castro may have knockout power, but Greg Hardy has competed on the highest elite level of football, the highest level. He has some type of toughness to him. All right. So if he isn't able to go in there and knock De Castro out, then we're going to see if Greg Hardy is able to adapt in a different way that he can work for the knockout in a later round. You know what I'm saying? Work his plan B and C, make adjustments, improvise, adapt, and overcome. That's what we need to see for Greg Hardy. If he isn't able to do that, and then he do something stupid, like the first round, he go all out, not able to get the knockdown. Come out here in the second round and do something to get DQ, hitting low blows or something. I'm calling bullshit. He needs to get out the damn organization. If Greg Hardy results to foul play, if he isn't able to get what he wants, and just say he's in a tough fight, and De Castro is able to land some solid punches, then he needs to go somewhere else. We don't need to see him in there because it's just too many fighters in his division that we're willing to look at, that we'll pay more attention to. Period. That's my thought process on it. But I agree, man. That inhaler shit. When he did that, I was like, nah, hell no. Hell no. They should have cut the angle. The cameraman should have cut that shit out. Like, did I just see what I saw? Like, did he just take out an inhaler to help his respiratory? Like, come on, man. You don't see Nick Newell going up there trying to damn do crazy shit in there, man. And he's fighting with one full limb when it comes to his hands, man. And still be subbing guys. Josh said it's only Garbrandt fought like that in every fight. He could have been champion for a bit longer. Well, Josh, look at it this way. Josh. I'm going to tell you why Cody Garbrandt fought TJ Dillashaw differently. All right? For one, they used to train in the same camp together. The animus was cultivated from training in the same freaking school. So what transpired, you know the history. I'm pretty sure you follow it just like I do. The whole process with TJ Dillashaw leaving the camp, leaving the school over there in Sacktown, and going out there with Dwayne Ludwig and not even let his people know. We're talking about Uriah Faber recruiting this dude out of high school, people. High school. And you're going to turn around and leave? You're going to betray the person that you was on the team that, look, a person that shed tears when you won the championship because he took you out of high school, a man that wasn't able to win a championship in the UFC, but he was able to raise you up to the level and get the championship. The man, Uriah Faber, shed tears, who a lot of people consider a legend of mixed martial arts, that wasn't able to accomplish the gold chip in the UFC. You're going to leave that man and then tell him that you was buying a house over there and Dwayne Ludwig was going to be your new coach? You was doing all that shit in the grass, just like Conor McGregor, being on like quoting other people, but I'll quote Conor McGregor, you know what I'm saying? A snake in the grass. He's telling them, hey, there goes a snake in the grass. There he goes. There goes a snake in the grass. He was right. TJ Dillashaw was a snake in the grass. Not only was he a snake in the grass, he was a juiced up snake in the grass. You know what I'm saying? TJ Dillashaw was a juiced up snake in the grass, man, and still got knocked out in one round. That's why Cody Garbrandt went in there and tried to do what Henry Cejudo did. But Cody Garbrandt, he just didn't have the patience, man. Cody Garbrandt could have knocked out TJ Dillashaw. He could have knocked out TJ Dillashaw. But Cody Garbrandt, man, he's kind of like a jock. Like he goes full steam and he try to hurry up and just throw everything with reckless abandonment. And that's what fucked him up. Henry Cejudo, it's a lot more discipline there, a lot more control, a lot more cleaner strikes, man. That's why TJ Dillashaw was knocked out twice, because he fought the wrong fight plan. And look, when you have somebody that trained with you, it's going to be much harder for you to go in there and defeat them easily. We're talking about a person who is trained in the same camp as Cody Garbrandt. So he had awareness. He had familiarity. He had the understanding and the data that he needed on Cody Garbrandt. So he was able to go in there and have an easy day on him, man. You know what I'm saying? He had an easy time with Cody. But hey, Cody Garbrandt is due to basically he was set to face Rafael Assunção in March, but the shutdown. So that fight is scheduled for later on this year. Hold on for a second. Okay. Garbrandt, his last couple of fights haven't been fighting smart. I think he's been getting too emotional in his fight, like the TJ fights. Yeah, just like I said, Josh, it was more so the backstory between these two. Just look at it in this perspective. If you grew up with a friend and y'all been training, don't matter what art you've been training in, what sport you've been training together, and you open up a school and you bring your friend on deck and you feel there's a sense of loyalty there. So y'all training, y'all grew up together, y'all have that sense of history. And then all of a sudden your friend get to a point where he may take a step higher than what you was able to accomplish. And they find out they should take a left turn when you wanted them to make a right turn. And the shit goes downhill from there. And I think Cody Garbrandt fought with emotions rather than what he was trained to do. He fought with pure emotions. He fought with the stabbing, the backstabbing, the betrayal, everything else that went along with Team Alpha Male. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of shit that went on with freaking TJ Dillashaw leaving the damn school, man. And you know what? No matter how you look at all of them, they was all fucked up. What TJ Dillashaw did, going behind their back and slowly but surely deploying out to Team Ludwig, it was fucked up. I ain't gonna lie. But it's the combat sports game is a dirty, dirty game, y'all. But you're right. Emotional, absolutely. D Hodges say MMA, you better have good cardio. 5-minute rounds. I know that got to be a long 5 minutes. That's what a lot of people don't understand is separating boxing from MMA. 5 minutes in a round. Just look at this shit, Hodges. Look at this shit right here. If you follow MMA back in the day, man, do you know over in Japan, overseas, I was around when they used to do the first round 10 minutes. The first round was 10 minutes. You're not getting water in between this round. The first round was 10 minutes, bro. Could you imagine that shit? A round being 10 minutes? You have to deal with somebody for 10 freaking minutes, no break in the round. That's what they used to have overseas, man, in Japan. 10 minutes. The first round was 10 minutes. That's real talk. That shit crazy. TJ is one of the biggest snakes in MMA. What he did at the gym, leaving them all behind with a snake way of cheating. I agree, man. I agree. Garbrandt got very emotional. He could have won that first fight. He knocked TJ down, and in the first round as well. Yeah, man. Garbrandt could have stopped TJ. He did. He could have stopped him, but he just didn't have the discipline, the mental discipline. Perky, Garbrandt need to be more patient. Josh, Uriah Faber versus TJ. When TJ is back, that's the fight to make. Uriah versus TJ. Josh, I disagree. I don't want to see Uriah Faber face TJ Dillashaw. Hey, I don't know. You might have some there, but I don't want to see Uriah Faber. But I don't know. He's off the juice. He's off the juice, yo. So you take Uriah Faber versus TJ Dillashaw off the juice. Excuse me. It might be a pretty even fight, man. It might be a pretty even fight. Even now, man. And y'all have to understand one thing, man. Babies change a man in general. But to a fighter, for them to have a baby, it's gonna be some changes. There's more obligation. You know what I'm saying? More responsibility. I mean, I don't know, man. You look at some of these fighters that's had kids. Some of them come back stronger. Some of them don't. It never knows, man. It can be their lady. It can be their kid. They just want to spend more time with their kid and less time with their lady. You never know, man. Shit ain't perfect. Shit ain't perfect over there, man. I seen the Garbrandt fight was rebooked for next month in June. Yeah, he's going to Rafael Sunsao. Yep. I remember Uriah talking about the situation when TJ was about to leave the gym. TJ kept asking Favor to teach him certain moves. What a snake TJ is. Yeah, man, he's going to have to come back. The combat sports game in general, it has plenty of freaking predators. You know what I'm saying? No matter what the species is. Combat sports in general has snakes, spiders, has lions, panthers, bears. They have any type of species. It's someone that can emulate something that particular species does. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way combat sports is. You have to have a mentality of something to be a killer. You have to have that mentality to cause harm and discontent towards your opponent. Seriously, you have to. You have to have some type of killer instinct, man. I remember Uriah Hall talking about the situation. Those were death fights. Death fights fighting to the death did take place back then, Uriah versus TJ as a fight main event would be good. The beef is there between them. They both hate each other, and a lot of fans will watch it. I'm pretty sure a lot of fans will watch that fight, but me, if it's the main event, PPV, I'm not paying for it. I just think Uriah Faber is pretty much, you know what I'm saying? He had a point in his career where he should just be focused on running his gym, expanding his business, just being the entrepreneur that he is. He did everything in mixed martial arts besides win a chip in the UFC. I mean, you couldn't tell Uriah Faber anything back then when he was winning WEC. He was the man. Somehow the sport caught up with Uriah Faber. Seriously. And you're talking about one of the quickest fighters in the sport. He had the swag, the California kid, coming out to California. I mean, Uriah Faber was that dude. Tori Severs said, love that car seat you're sitting in. Oh, yeah, man. It's a gaming chair, man. It's a gaming chair. The fact TJ coach is still saying he didn't know TJ was using steroids are straight lies. Of course, his coaches, certain people knew he was using stuff Garbrandt knew. Well, they actually said that, TJ was showing everybody else in there. So if the team knew at Team Alpha Male that the shit was going on, you trying to tell me Faber didn't know? You trying to tell me Faber didn't know and it's his school? So the same thing can be said about, the team over there in Sacktown. If the fighters knew, then Faber knew. You know what I'm saying? The same thing with Ludwig. He probably knew. But once again, fighters on the level of TJ, they've been in the sport as long and they choose to start juicing. They can do that shit on their own, man. They may not tell the coach. Who knows? It may be some fighters out there that's able to take performance enhancing drugs and they coach don't know. But the Team Alpha Male perspective is that they knew. TJ was telling everybody how to do it. Well, that's a good point, though, man. Uriah Faber's entrance is great when he used to come out California. Yeah. Yep. One of the best, man. Do you think TJ has been cheating his whole career? I just always looked at TJ Dillashaw, man, as I cannot place a canopy over his entire career, especially when it includes an allegation such as cheating. Just because we don't know what happened in TJ's career that influenced him to start cheating, I don't know. I would be wrong for even assuming that, yeah, he been cheating his whole career. I think that's bogus shit. You know, for somebody to get popped once and then you say, oh, they've been doing their whole career. Just like they try to do John Jones all the time, Cyborg all the time, Vitor Belfort. You know, a lot of fighters that was on that TRT, you know, and they banned that shit. We never know what happened. If it was an injury that they had to take it to heal, and then they say, oh shit, I felt good. You know, I felt good doing this. Even though I was just taking the heal quickly, it felt good. We never know what was going on in TJ's mind. So I can't sit up here and say his whole career, but I can tell you the way he looked physically, his physique when he was in the ring, in the cage, I was like, damn, that dude's shredded. Like TJ Dillashaw, you rarely see fighters coming in there that muscular, shredded to the bone. Like you can see every muscle in his back, arms, obliques, abdominals, chest, shoulders. And you're talking about after the weigh-in and you hydrated? He's been juicing for quite some time, but I can't say his whole career. If you look at that picture where he's yelling in Cody Garbrandt's face up against the cage, if you check out, listen, and when you compete in bodybuilding or men's physique or any type of fitness competition, when you're posing, you have to blow out your air to make sure you get everything, the striation, everything. But when you're in there fighting and you're that freaking shredded, I'm saying you goddamn juicing. TJ Dillashaw, when he was in the face of Cody Garbrandt yelling, and you can see damn near every vein in his body, I said right there, I said, there's no way he freaking clean, and that's just all food. Watch when he come back. Watch when TJ Dillashaw comes back. He's not going to be that shredded. Hell no. He's not going to be that shredded, man. That ruined TJ's career for me because we don't know how long he's been cheating, and his coaches are still making excuses. Yeah, it did put a blemish on his career there, Josh, but I don't think it ruined his whole career, because if that was the case, John Jones wouldn't have shit to stand on. You know, John Jones was doing Pez and Coke and hit and runs, DWIs, and people still love and adore. And people like myself would say, you know what, John Jones at this point in time still considered the GOAT because he really hasn't been defeated in the ring. The cage. He hasn't, y'all. Matt Hamill didn't defeat him. He was DQ'd. I really don't even like talking about that shit. Steve Mazzagatti. You could have let that shit ride. You should have said, God damn it, stand up, Matt Hamill. You okay? And then Matt Hamill say, yeah, I'm okay, but my shoulder's fucked up. Because Matt Hamill said my shoulder's fucked up. He wasn't even planning on, he couldn't win that fight. Matt Hamill knew he couldn't recover. John Jones was too much. And they put the blemish on the man's record. Fucked up. D. Hard just say Fury team knew, but let the gloves go. Hodge, I can't believe you sprinkling. I can't believe you sprinkling that season. You know what I'm saying? I can't believe you sprinkling that season. I'm not even going to touch on that right now, man. That shit. I'm just waiting for the champ to come back, get his freaking belt, so we can put everything to bed, especially fuck up any type of damn future match between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Anthony Joshua, one of the most overrated. It's not ruining it for me, but I just don't like the way TJ and his coaches went about the situation. I respect that TJ had did for the sport, just a very shady situation. You're right. It was a very shady situation, but for me, I look at combat sports as having their dark spots. I'm not here to place judgment on them. Combat sports in general, especially boxing, man, have dark spots. Serious, they have crevices. There's a lot of people, even in the daylight, they still move like it's nocturnal. I'm serious, man. Combat sports is a dirty, grimy sport. You have people in goddamn under lights, camera, action, they still trying to do dirt. Perky said they saying Garbrandt versus Perky. Perky. Let me ask you a question. Josh mentioned that like 5 comments ago, man. He mentioned that the Garbrandt fight was rescheduled for June. Josh said Garbrandt versus Sunset first fight on Fight Island, possibly. It's possible. Wherever that island is, it's possible. I respect this title run, but it's just a very sage situation. Like I said, why is Dana White still saying McGregor versus Khabib is the fight to make? Dana White might have some infatuation with the fighter who allowed him to make millions. Conor McGregor put millions in Dana White's pocket. That's on top of the millions he already got. So that fight he did with Floyd Mayweather, of course the UFC was able to get some of that. Of course Dana White was able to benefit from that. Of course. So even with Conor McGregor returning back to the sport and being subbed out by Khabib in the 4th round, he's still, in the eyes of Dana White, is a corporate dude. Still, he's a corporate dude because Dana White allowed Conor McGregor to make moves in the UFC, and Conor McGregor did it. Conor McGregor knocked out Jose Aldo, went and did 2 fights up at welterweight, dropped back down to 155, and beat Eddie Alvarez. Not only that, he then talked shit enough for Floyd Mayweather to say, come on over here, along with the gullible fight fans that's thinking Conor McGregor is the one. He is the fighter to go over there and stop one of the best boxers in history. People actually believe that. They put on fight parties, y'all. They brought food from Costco's and Sam's. They doing cookouts. They was happy. Yeah, Conor McGregor, you see how he treated Floyd Mayweather during the tour? Floyd allowed him to do that because Floyd Mayweather is the genius when it comes to selling fights. He is a genius at his craft. It was amazing to see him allow shit to happen just enough for people to say, damn, Conor McGregor really disrespecting the shit out of Floyd. And gets in there, and we the fans witness Floyd doing some shit that we never seen him do in his entire career against tougher boxers. He was turning his back, allowing goddamn Conor to rabbit punch him. He was just doing a whole lot of outlandish bullshit, right? And then when it's time, he went back over to the corner. They say, listen, Money. Listen, Money, it's time to go cash this check. Stop playing with this boy. You know what I'm saying? Give him the business. Let's go. Time to go home. We've gave the fans enough. We gave the fans 9 rounds. Stop playing with him. Close the motherfucking fight. And he went in there and closed it out. But the genius of Floyd Mayweather, man. Pure genius. Pure genius, man. Josh said no one wants to see Khabib versus Conor again right now other than McGregor fans. I agree. I'm not trying to see Khabib versus Conor. I'm really trying to see Khabib versus Tony Ferguson more so. But don't think, upset can't happen with Justin Gaethje against Tony Ferguson. It's 5 rounds. I'm curious to see what type of shape that Justin Gaethje is in. That's all. And like you said, we still don't know the whole situation with what happens with TJ. Maybe he was going through a tough time or something and took the wrong supplement. No, he was taking the right supplement. It just wasn't legal. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I don't know what was going on. Some of these fighters get injured and they want to recover quickly. We don't know. The one person I'm glad that was able to clear their name, two people, and that was Anderson Silva, who I had to eat my words because I thought Anderson Silva may have taken pads so that his leg can heal. The second fight against Chris Weidman, I thought he may have taken pads so that he can heal quick and get back in the cage. And then Yoel Romero, Anderson Silva, he was cleared. And then Yoel Romero was cleared. Yoel Romero potentially won a freaking $27 million lawsuit from a tainted supplement. That's two people whose careers was done. Let's hope TJ come back and put some good performances. We'll see, man. We'll see. Maybe if Garbrandt can get back some wins together, we could see TJ versus Garbrandt to finish the trilogy. That's possible. But more so between them two, I would want to see TJ Dillashaw have a superb performance more than TJ, because I think TJ is a much more well-rounded fighter than Cody Garbrandt. So I would definitely want to see Cody Garbrandt, go in here and be consistent. That's all I'm saying. Going in there being stopped against the same fighter tells me you wasn't thinking. You weren't trying to be smart. Hodges said, if any get caught cheating, you lose credit. But if you don't get caught, they never did it. Yeah, man. It's touch and go with USADA. You know what I'm saying? Some people get caught, some don't. But testing is changing now because they're trying to say there's inconsistencies with the A and B sample in certain methods. It's inconsistency. It's too complex for me to get into, but John Jones kind of changed that shit. He tested positive, and then he still had picograms coming up on his test that didn't fluctuate in numbers, but they were still in his system. You know what I'm saying? So Dana White made the decision along with some other people to say, you know what, we're not going to fuck him up twice, double jeopardy. John Jones got that shit. Look, you can be freaking on PES, and then it may take a little bit more time for PES to leave one person's system than it does the other. Thanks, John Jones, for that. Do you think we'll get an online press conference or something? Hell no. Hell no. Shit. Why would they do a press conference for UFC 249 and somebody gets sick? Nah, I don't think they're going to do that. I think this is all going to be surprise, surprise, surprise. Do you think we'll get an online press conference, something, an event, or Dana or some fighters going on ESPN to promote? I hope we get an online press conference. I don't know, man. I don't want an online press conference, man. I just want to see the fight. Y'all hold on for a minute. I just glanced over there. Dillian White B sample. Hey, Dillian White B sample goddamn ran into David Copperfield because he goddamn made that shit disappear. For real. Tori Savage say Floyd definitely was on edge of knocking McGregor out. Facts. Yeah, man. A lot of people thought he was the one, man. They thought Conor McGregor was the one. They convinced people to pay $100 for that fight. Not me. Not I, said the cat. I really want to see Cruz and Cejudo trash talk each other over Skype. Yeah, I think, look, that right there, I think would be classic. Seriously, because Dominic Cruz can talk trash and Henry Cejudo can talk trash. So that would be a classic. Definitely over Skype to hype the fight up. I'm not sure why it hasn't happened yet. I think Dana White, he's playing this so cautiously. Man, it's been so much going on. He's like, man, I don't want to start putting these fighters over Skype, and shit don't happen. But I agree, man. Cejudo and Dominic Cruz, hell yeah. That should be a classic trash talk. I like Cejudo's delivery. He has his own little bravado when it comes down to trash talking. But I can say the same thing about Dominic Cruz, man. Josh said Justin Gaethje had an extra month to train basis, so he's going to be more dangerous in this fight and will last longer in the fight. I think Gaethje has 3 rounds of straight hell for Tony. Yeah, man, I'm hoping that. I'm going for Justin Gaethje. I'm just going for Justin Gaethje. I've really been a Justin Gaethje fan since he was a champion. Before he transferred over to the UFC, I really, my nod's going to Justin Gaethje. And plus, he's one of the most exciting fighters, man. Between him and Eddie Alvarez, the backflip, no hand layout off the top of the cage. I don't know, man. I think Justin Gaethje does it better, man. Seriously, I think Justin Gaethje does it better. D. Hodges, Dillian White, never seen a B sample. Never seen a B sample because when it comes down to it, these testing agencies, especially UCAD, y'all. Come on, man. Especially over there, UCAD, man, come on. Y'all can talk all this shit, and then I'm even in a group talking about that shit, right? And they was like, oh, man, no, you're being prejudiced. You're just saying that in the UK. I'm not saying in the UK nothing. But when you allow fighters to have a therapeutic exemption, shit is a little bit shady. You know what I'm saying? There's some shit's going on. People getting paid. You know what I'm saying? Can you imagine that being over here in the US, y'all? Therapeutic exemption. And then turn around and say, oh, well, we're going to stop the therapeutic exemption from making it a notification. You know what I'm saying? Making it something that a fighter can be excluded from. So if a fighter over there, back then, they was sitting up here having a therapeutic exemption. Man, come on now. You're just trying to make sure your boxing remains relevant. Your boxing scene over there remains relevant. But you have a therapeutic exemption? Nah, that's bullshit. Josh said, I met like fighters online talking from each other gym, not fighters in person having a press conference, like a call-in press conference. Yeah, I'll take that. But I don't know, man. I could see, Josh, if it was any other environment, outside of the pandemic. Like if it was something other than the pandemic, cool. You know what I'm saying? But we're looking at crisis. Now, I'm not talking about just the COVID-19. I'm talking about this card being a freaking crisis. This card has went from regularity to super goddamn acid reflux. Seriously. Because people are just like sitting here. Please. As the time tick away and the days get closer and closer, people are like, please, nothing happened to this fight card because we really want to see this fight take place. We have to see it. What are we looking at? We 2 weeks. Let me see. Yeah, we're about 2 weeks out. You know what I'm saying? We're 2 weeks out. That's all they're hoping for, man. That nothing happens. Josh, they may have some Q&A online with some fighters. Perky. Perky, why you repeat everything Josh says? Perky, what you doing, man? I'm reading your comments, man. You be repeating what Josh is saying, man. What you doing? Are you a true mixed martial art fan? Or I appreciate you tuning in. I'm just curious, man. You know, are you still learning mixed martial arts? Are you just being a part of the conversation? Because you be repeating. Because when we was talking about boxing, you gave me a pound for pound list, and I told you that pound for pound list is the ring pound for pound. But you said, "Oh, here's my pound for pound list." I'm like, that's the same pound for pound list is on ring. So I don't know what's going on with you, Perky, man. I don't know what you're doing over here. I don't know what you got going on, bro. I don't know if you're a true combat sports fan. We need some good fighters on Skype this week. Yeah, he was talking trash about McGregor too. I think if we get through the week with nothing happening, this event definitely happened because the UFC would start flying fighters out with everything. I really don't like Paulie Malignaggi, not trying to hate. How Paulie Malignaggi coming up on a mixed martial arts thread? What's going on? Come on, Josh, man. You've been consistent. How Paulie Malignaggi pops up. Because if I start talking about Paulie, it's going to be totally off mixed martial arts, man. But I'm not saying it's not a good subject now. Since you brought him up, I'm going to have to speak on it. But I'm going to wait a little bit. I hope we get online press conference this week. Will be a classic. Nagano, Rosenstruck, everyone on the talk trash. I'm not sure Rosenstruck is going to talk trash in Nagano. Nagano is not that much of a trash talker. You know what I'm saying? The only people that's on this card that I know that'll talk trash, let's say Jeremy Stevens. You know, Jeremy Stevens, of course. Definitely not Ronaldo Sosa and Uriah Hall. They ain't gonna talk trash. Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Anthony Pettis. Nah, I mean both of them can talk trash, but Cowboy Cerrone coming off a 40 second stoppage or whatever, he ain't gonna talk no trash. Farisha Verdun versus Olenek, they're not gonna talk trash for what? They've been in sport too long. Farisha been in sport too long. And plus, he don't have to do that shit. Carly Esparza versus Michelle Waterson. Nah, we ain't gonna see no trash talk with them. You know what I'm saying? It's light. Vincent Luque, versus Nico Price, possibly. Nico, he's a wild boy, Nico, a wild boy, a country dude. He might. Sam Ivey against Ryan Spann, I don't think they're gonna talk trash. So the only ones is Cruz Cejudo, Justin Gaethje, Tony Ferguson, of course. Them two fights right there is probably the only ones I would want to see trash talk one another. Not unless Jeremy Stevens decide to trash talk. Outside of those three fights, no, I don't want to see anybody. Everyone loves Perky in this chat. Hey Josh, I'm just talking. I'm just trying to figure it out. The way I view it, I'm just trying to see because he's just repeating. So I'm just trying to find out where he at. If that's what he's doing it. I'm just gauging what I'm reading. From the time that he put his pound for pound list up there, and he didn't think I was gonna tell him that's the pound for pound list in Ring Mag. I mean, come on, man. Give me credit for. Come on, man. I'm just trying to see. I'm just trying to see who I'm dealing with. That's all. D-Hodge need a wrench. He had a bare knuckle fight. Who had a bare knuckle fight? Who had a bare knuckle fight? Oh, Paulie. Paulie had a bare knuckle fight. You got that right. That's what I'm about to get on that Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie Malignaggi was crying about the UFC putting on an event and was calling Dana an idiot, I think. He's criticizing the UFC heavy right now. He's saying MMA fans are some of the dumbest fans in combat sports. That's Paulie Malignaggi's word. Bryce Mitchell will talk trash. I really don't want to see Bryce Mitchell talk trash right now. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it right now. Bryce Mitchell is trying to raise his stock, right? And I think he's good where he's at right now. Until he start winning, I don't know, man. I just want to see him go in there and fight right now. Calvin Kattar and Jeremy will talk some trash. Of course, Calvin Kattar and Jeremy Stevens will talk some trash because I think Jeremy was trying to fight Calvin in a hotel last year, just before Jeremy fight against Yair. Excuse me. Calvin doesn't like Stevens. Yeah, that might happen. Like, once again, Jeremy Stevens can talk trash, but I don't think it favors him too well heading into a fight. And especially with Calvin Kattar. I think you're right on that, Calvin Kattar. I think you're right on that. Paulie Malignaggi has taken upon himself to just go all out on boxing and mixed martial arts. He really never had love for mixed martial arts to begin with. He's clowned it. He's criticized it deeply. Like I said before, he said mixed martial arts fan is some of the dumbest fans in combat sports. You know, he's just totally frowned upon the sport in general. You will not see Paulie Malignaggi come up here and get any type of commentating job in the UFC. Now, what he's saying about boxing in general, being very scrutinized and being very strict with his words, especially with the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury fight, I look at it like this. Paulie Malignaggi and his knowledge, he's always kept the same tone. He's outspoken as shit. He's going to tell you what he think, and you're not going to always like it. Most of the time, you may not like a lot of it. But that's Paulie Malignaggi, man. I'm not mad at how he's going about the way he is as a person. They hire him just for that. They hired Paulie for his knowledge. You know, him being a former world champion and stuff like that. They hire him just for that. You know what I'm saying? So to be mad now because he's angry at certain people. Yeah, he did predict Deontay Wilder to get stopped by Tyson Fury. But listen, if Wilder would have went in there and won, then okay, Paulie would have said, you know, I was wrong or whatever. But it was a lot of backstory to I don't know, the criticism that he had of Wilder. And not only that, but Paulie Malignaggi talked equal amount of shit to Artem Lobov. Let's be clear. Their bare knuckle fight leading up down there, Paulie Malignaggi talked mad shit to Artem. Like, they didn't like each other. But then after the fight, the respect that was earned with Paulie Malignaggi basically defeating Artem with damn near one hand. That's the respect I see. I'm talking about somebody who was at the fight. I got respect for Paulie, man. I can't go look. I have a different mentality when it comes to this shit. Like, I'm seeing a lot. It's some fighters out here. It's some fighters out here that will basically take words as a salt tablet every freaking time. Like, they really cannot digest criticism well. I mean, it's some fighters out here like that. But I just look at it like I've seen worse. I've heard worse. So what Paulie Malignaggi is doing, he's always had somewhat like a big mouth. But every time I seen him in public, he wasn't an asshole to me. I'm not saying me in general. I'm just saying I've never spoken to Paulie Malignaggi. He was an asshole. I'm talking about me talking to Paulie Malignaggi. It's just me and him. No crowd. I got pictures to prove it. We at the damn MGM casino, and he's coming in with this suit, getting ready to go out there and get in front of the lens. And I spoke to him briefly. I never posted the interview because it was like on the go. It was rushed. It wasn't really a solid interview, but yeah, Paulie talked to me, and it wasn't people around him. Seriously, Brian Custer wasn't around him. Albert Bernstein wasn't around him. Steve Farhood, Jim Gray, nobody was around him. It was just me and the people who was working the security because I was out there fishing. So my perspective on Paulie Malignaggi and what he's doing, he hasn't changed his tone. It's just his narratives on certain people are offensive. You know what I'm saying? And he's been very, very outspoken recently about, not really caring too much about the sport of boxing. That's not saying that he doesn't care to commentate on it, but he's talking about the sport in general. I'm not mad at the dude for saying what he said about MMA. I mean, combat sports in general, you're going to have a lot of people to talk shit. That's just the way it is, y'all. You're going to have a lot of people to talk shit, man. I'm not even going to apologize for that. What's even going on with your ear? We've heard nothing about him in months. You have to understand these certain fighters. You have to understand one thing. It's a lot of variables that can play a factor in us not seeing them. It can be injuries. It can be their team. Man, it can be family. We just look at them as coming on and, okay, Yair, there you go. Yair Rodriguez, and he's going to compete. I mean, come on, man. Some of these fighters, they got to pay fight camp. We don't know what's going on with their personal life. We don't know any of that shit, man. We're just saying, okay, we out here and we're trying to see when the next time they're going to come on deck. But we're talking about the UFC has 500 plus fighters. So the more popular names, yeah, we want to see them, but we don't know what the fuck is going on with them. Seriously, we don't know what's going on. Family, babies, marriage, moving. We don't know. Health problems. We don't know, man. The only time I see Yair is when he's with Cowboy because he's in Cowboy's corner. Yeah, man, I'm just curious to see why Yair would not tell Cowboy Cerrone to chill and stop taking punishment. You're at 14 losses right now. Man, come on, man. When does somebody just reach out to Cowboy? We see it in boxing and mixed martial arts in general. Like, when are you going to reach out? Like, you took punishment against Gaethje, against Ferguson, against Conor, against anybody you can name. Like, Cowboy's taking punishment, even against Nate Diaz. When is someone going to tell him, okay, man, it's time for you to chill, man? It's time for you to chill. Josh Talks UFC said, did you see Bruce Buffer will be at the event? Do you think he'll announce the fights in the octagon? Or do you think they'll play music for the fighters coming out so it's like a normal event? If Bruce Buffer is cleared, and once again, I don't know the testing protocol on how it's going to go down in Florida, all right? But the man is being paid good money to announce the fights. So, of course, if Bruce Buffer is the one to bring the energy remotely into the homes of the viewing audience, why not have Bruce Why not have him there, man? Listen, no one gives the intro like Bruce, man. Even his brother, like his brother has that subtle, classic one-liner. But goddamn Bruce, look, people be on their phone and shit, and then Bruce Buffer say, "And now, excuse me." You know what the fuck is going on. Bruce Buffer behind the mic. Come on, man. Like, dude has one of the most intense intros to get the crowd hyped up. Seriously. So I'm not sure if he's going to announce the whole fight card. It's 5 fights on the main card and 7 on the prelims, y'all. I couldn't tell you. I know I'm gonna tell you like this. I don't think Bruce would do the whole entire card, man. I don't know, man. I don't think so. Because some of them fights don't need a Bruce Buffer intro. They just don't. Greg Hardy? No. Negative. Only the first 3 fights. I think. That's the first 3 fights. Cejudo Cruz, cool. Gaethje Ferg, and the Ngannou Rosenstruck. That's it. First 3 fights, period. Everybody else, they can get in where they fit in. We don't need no hype to that. But we'll know, man. We'll see. Danny confirmed that DC John Anik and Joe Rogan will be on the commentary. I like that. I like those 3. Boy, Joe Rogan on deck, cool. DC. DC is not only one of the best fighters to step in the damn cage, right? But he can commentate his ass off, though, man. You know what I'm saying? Even though people look back and say, Thug Rose. DC, I like him on the mic, man. Cool. And Bruce will be there. Bruce is one of the best when he says time. It's about to go down. Yep. And now, Josh said maybe he'll do the main card because he need Bruce for those title fights. That's for sure. Yeah, man. It's real talk. The interim title, we've seen Tony with the interim before. I just want Justin Gaethje to not come out there and dump his whole goddamn bag of ammo off to the side when shit don't go his way. Like if he ain't hurting the target, if he don't understand he's in there with the guy who will take bullets to the chest and keep moving. I don't want Justin Gaethje to just abandon the mission and just go all out and unload everything and forget his discipline, forget technique, forget this is a thinking man's game, forget the strategy. I don't want Justin Gaethje to go in there and do that. We've seen that happen and it didn't work out for him the way it should. I want him to stay the course. I want him to be composed, show that poise. Be a disciplined killer in there because he has the skills to do it. He was a wrestler. So we're not talking about, Tony Ferguson going to be shooting in for a takedown on Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje made it to it wasn't what you call a world, but he made it. He won state, national, whatever. I forgot, but he can wrestle. His jiu-jitsu is good. Shit. I just don't want him to go in there and dump the bag. Don't damn run the clip so early. Don't clear the clip too early, man. Unload the clip and be like, damn, what do I do now? Let me turn the weapon around and start swinging it. No, man, just stay controlled, man. That's what we want to see. Justin Gaethje, you can do it. Dana confirmed that Joe Rogan was doing commentary and the MMA journalist said Bruce John. Gaethje has to fight smart because the moment he doesn't, Tony would have him in a submission and hit him with elbows from the bottom. I don't know if he's gonna be able to get Justin Gaethje in a submission though. I mean, anything's possible, but we just don't see Justin Gaethje being tossed in submissions. You know what I'm saying? His back-to-back losses was knockouts. You know what I'm saying? So he will have to be in a bad place. No, I'm gonna backtrack on that. I'm gonna backtrack. Tony Ferguson, if he can catch Justin Gaethje in a firefight, and sometimes when Justin Gaethje starts to throw caution to the wind and dip his head down and just swing with recklessness, right? Tony Ferguson, I believe, is that type of fighter that can get in close and maybe lock in, you know, a choke or whatever, a guillotine, anything from the front, darce, whatever the case may be. Because sometimes Justin Gaethje does dip his head, but he never really subject himself to being vulnerable for a submission, especially when you face to face with him. We're not even talking about taking him down and gaining dominant position on his back. That's just not something we see from Justin Gaethje. Come on, man. That's just not something. He was undefeated before he even came into the UFC, y'all. His 2 losses, man, the worst, were stoppages. They wasn't subs. I just don't see Tony Ferguson doing anything other than that. Not saying he can't. I just don't see it. 1 ring girl probably, or 2. Gaethje has to fight smart because the moment he doesn't, Tony will have him in submission, hitting him with elbows from the bottom. Yeah, that I agree with. Tony Ferguson is one of the best strikers off his back. We don't need ring girls, but I remember Dana said for the council fight, yeah, he did say that was going to be ring girls. There's going to be 1 ring girl go ring girl. So there will probably be ring girls and some UFC security. Do you remember Tony Ferguson did a barrel roll against Pettis when Pettis was hitting him? That was crazy. That type of thing only Tony does. Well, he did a barrel roll when he was hurt. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, Anthony Pettis was closing in. So I'm thinking, you know, I commend Tony Ferguson for having the wits about him to do that barrel roll, front barrel roll out like that, and still maintain coherency as to where Anthony Pettis was. And he was hurt. Tony Ferguson was hurt. And for him to barrel roll out of that and still be in the heat of battle, yeah, I commend you for that. He's a bad dude, man. You know, Ferg is a bad dude. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going for freaking Justin Gaethje. I'm going for Justin Gaethje. That's who I want to win that fight. Damn, Perky, you left the chat, man. I ain't say you couldn't be in the chat. I was just, look, I'm just being attentive to who's in the chat. It don't matter if it's 100 people in here. When you get in a routine, I'm just gauging people's knowledge. I can gauge knowledge off someone who's looking up shit, because if I read it before, I will remember it, especially if you put it verbatim. And then I know the ones who's just talking off the top, and they know the sport. That's all. I wasn't, trying to be critical there, Perky, but you kind of raised my eyebrow a little bit when you put that pound for pound list and said it was your pound for pound list. I was like, nah. I mean, if you would have said that was your pound for pound list, then we would have, all right. But I'm like, nah, man, that's the Reigns pound for pound list right there, man. And then, I'm just seeing him repeat the words up there, the comments that Josh was leaving. I don't know, man. Maybe maybe y'all know each other. Maybe he was just trying to be your friend or whatever. I don't know. But you didn't have to leave the chat, man. You good, bro. It's not even that serious. You know what I'm saying? It's not even that serious, big dog, for real. It's so much knowledge to this game, man. I'm just talking. Tony always leaves his chin open, and on his 12 win streak, somehow no one has knocked him out. He's a crazy man. The one thing about Tony Ferguson that I feel for him is that he's motivated in a different way. Tony is a killer in a different way, you know, from within. Tony is that guy from within. He's a killer, man. Like when he sees blood, it's almost like it's more fuel. You know, like you're injecting a whole different liquid into his body and giving him another level of energy. And that liquid is being blood. Like Tony loves the freaking be in a fight where he bleeds a lot. But with that bleeding, that man is subjecting damage to his body, to his freaking head, and all that other stuff. And I'm not sure how long he's going to be able to last in between fights, taking the amount of punishment he does. Fight fans are going to say, you know what, Tony Ferguson, we got to respect him. You know, he's just that and that. But he's a different dude, man. You know, like Tony Ferguson cuss your ass out and you say, hey, Ferg, what did I do? And then Ferg might say, you didn't do shit. I just said, fuck you. You know, he seems like that type of dude. I'm not sure it's because of the amount of punishment he's taken over his career, but he's in there with another guy who can take punishment and give it. But the pluses and minuses, right, is that Tony Ferguson, it takes a lot for you to kill the guy. I'm not saying kill as take a life. I'm talking about kill to the point where you have defeated him in the cage. It just takes a lot. Justin Gaethje, I'll say the same thing, but Gaethje we've seen get broken down. And when he gets broken, he falls hard. You know what I'm saying? I think Tony Ferguson maintains some type of freaking coherency even when he's hurt. You know, just like we was talking about the barrel roll. I think Tony Ferguson, even though it looks the worst, he attains more freaking competence and awareness when he's hurt, when he's in a bad place, better than Justin Gaethje. He does, man. I don't know how long he's going to be able to do that. Seriously, I don't know how long Tony Ferguson will be able to do that. Tony's a tough dude, but he's taking a whole lot of punishment, y'all. Pound for pound MMA top 5. Jones, Khabib, Izzy, Stipe. And for me, he's not a champion, but probably Tony, honorable mention. Usman, the boring champ, Volkanovski, Cejudo. You kind of lost me when you got the 3. John Jones, Khabib, I can see how they're prominent players in the game. But Izzy though. You see how I did that? Izzy though? No, Izzy's not in my top pound for pound. His resume don't put him in the top pound for pound, especially just because he defeated Gastelum, Whitaker, and Romero. Hell no. Josh, please. I'm not telling you, you know, I don't know what you're doing during this COVID-19, bro. But come on. You set standards now. Don't just start talking crazy. Izzy? 3rd? Hell no. I put Stipe in front of freaking Izzy any day. I put Stipe Miocic because Daniel Cormier, arguably one of the best fighters that the UFC has ever had, champion at light heavyweight, champion at heavyweight. Stipe went in there and returned from a first-round knockout and stopped Daniel Cormier in the 4th round with body shots. Man, come on, man. It's no way Izzy has never had a fight to the caliber of Stipe Miocic, even with Francis Ngannou, for God's sake. You know what I'm saying? No. And then even Henry Cejudo, at least he went in there, returned to fight Demetrius after a loss. Took him close to 2 years, returned, picked up the belt, defended it, fought TJ Dillashaw and crushed him in 1 round when he was a bantam. Come on, man. What has Izzy did besides rise up in the middleweight division and fight some okay opponents? Who gave him that pound for pound status? It wasn't Marvin Vettori. It wasn't Brad Tavares. You know what I'm saying? Who gave him that? Who? Please enlighten me. I would probably put Nunez at 5. Tony would go in the honorable mention. Man, on my pound for pound list, Tony Ferg, man, 6, 7, somewhere around there, man. 6 or 7. Somewhere around there. You know, Volkanovski is no way in the picture. Seriously. Kamaru Usman, nowhere in the picture. Hell to the no. Stop playing, man. I will put Izzy at 5, then Stipe 3rd, since he's the heavyweight. You gotta look at how many times Stipe been a heavyweight champ. I mean, how many times did Stipe defend the title? That's what you gotta look at. You know what I'm saying? Izzy defeated Robert Whittaker, picked up the title, and then he went up here and fought Yoel Romero. So you look at Stipe. Stipe defended his heavyweight chip 3 times the first time, and then he lost it. We haven't even seen Adesanya defend his title 3 straight times yet. He has 1 defense, and that was one of the worst fights outside of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Darren Till. So Josh, don't you dare come up here. Don't you dare do that. I'm about to sit up here and start implementing the rules of timeout. You have standards, Josh. You've been consistent. Don't you dare go up here and put Stylebender on the top 5 pound for pound list just because he's been fast tracked to the top. Look at his resume compared to Stipe Miocic. Who on his resume come close to Daniel Cormier? Who? Stipe Miocic regained the title. He got knocked out in the first round, didn't take another fight, came back and goddamn went through hell and fought DC. Changed up the fight plan and ended up getting a stoppage. Who else has stopped DC? The only other good number 1 fighter in the UFC, and that's John Jones. That's the only person that stopped DC. The only person to stop him. Stipe Miocic ended up doing something that looked impossible to do outside of John Jones, the person who has defeated DC twice. I'm just messing with you though, man. I'm just saying. When it comes to this MMA, man, standards. Come on, this boxing standards. Nunez, I have to put Nunez in top 5. I have to. She defeated Valentina Shevchenko twice. Man, the list goes on and on. And she stopped. She defeated Ronda Rousey. Okay, Ronda Rousey was already stopped by Holly Holmes. We get it. But she went in there and shut down Chris Cyborg. But more so, I'm kind of like leaving heavy and saying Chris Cyborg really didn't want to win the title because she wanted to go to Bellator. She wanted to get out of the UFC. Dana and her never really had that, that relationship that was considered to be cordial, so to speak, especially when it comes to business. So I think she went out there and got knocked out so she can go over there and to the Bellator. And look, she's champion already. Pound for pound list can change every day. It just depends on how you feel at the moment. Jones number 1, Khabib, Stipe 3, Nunez 4, Izzy 5. Let me ask you this, Josh. Hey, why you dissing my man Henry Cejudo though? Why are you dissing Cejudo? Why you keep putting Izzy in front of Cejudo? Cejudo, Olympic wrestling gold medalist, right? Flyweight champion, bantamweight champion. Why are you not showing my man Cejudo any more respect, man? 2-division champ, man. You think Adesanya is going to move up to light heavyweight and defeat John Jones? If by chance he does that, kudos. He moves up into the top 5 pound for pound. But man, come on. Triple C, you ain't giving him no love for the top 5. There's no way Izzy is in front of Henry Cejudo. Usman is the boring champ. Get him out of here. Absolutely. That's why I was wondering, like, why you got Usman up there even in the freaking narrative, bro? Kobe deserves a rematch against Usman. I don't know about that D word, deserve. I don't know, man. He had his opportunity there, Josh. He talks so much shit. Both of them talk shit. But I like what I seen with Kobe hands in that fight. But he fought he fought the wrong strategy once he found out he could knock Usman off. He should have changed some up. He should have started implementing some kicks. Both of them are good wrestlers. So we know it's going to be a stand-up game. He should have changed it up. But he wanted to go in there and fight like Clay Guida. Go all out. Don't switch shit up. Deserves a rematch. Some of the stuff in that fight was a disgrace. The fake shot. Usman was faking the guy. It's very unlikable. I agree, bro. He's not one of my top fighters. But they all under manager Ali Abdulaziz. He has a lot of top fighters in mixed martial arts. Josh said, Nunes is a double champ. She's so dumb and she got to be pound for pound. No matter the gender, she's a monster in the octagon. She isn't my favorite fighter, but she's a GOAT. Yeah, man, I agree. I just don't see that Izzy. People want to use Izzy. But is he not? Is he not in the top pound for pound top 5? Not off just beating Robert Whittaker. You know what I'm saying? Not just beating Robert Whittaker. Cejudo defeated one of the best bantamweights ever in the UFC, and he defeated one of the best flyweights in the UFC. Definitely, in my opinion, Cejudo will always, right now at this point in time, go above Adesanya. Man, they got to stop, just hating on Cejudo because he's Mr. Cringe and all this other shit. No, man, grade the man off his performance, his mixed martial arts. Grade him off that, man. Get a man his love. But Kamaru Usman? No. I don't like Cejudo or Izzy. That's much, man. I can't decide on either one of them. I'm not in here the light game. I'm just saying, when it comes down to what Cejudo was able to do, especially with TJ Dillashaw, especially with Demetrius Johnson, he automatically goes in front of Adesanya, period. People just can't say, oh, well, we like the heavier weight classes. Okay, that might be the case for some people. They're showing favoritism, but you cannot deny that Henry Cejudo and what he was able to accomplish, returning damn near after 2 years and defeat a split decision DJ, which is arguably one of the best fighters, considered the GOAT, especially in the flyweight division, defending his title 11 times. Man, that's a resume you want. That's a notch on your resume you want. Also, another notch on his resume, of course, TJ Dillashaw, first round stoppage. Who has Adesanya did? Who has he stopped with that caliber name on his resume? I don't even want to entertain Adesanya in the top 6 after that performance he put on with Yoel Romero. He fought scared, talked all that shit. He wanted to be the first one to finish him. Nah, bro, we didn't see none of that. You know what? I put Triple C at 5 since he was the double champ. Did you see Willie trash talk Izzy saying after he's done with the welterweight division, he's going up to challenge Izzy? Willie has to focus on welterweight before fight before all that stuff. I look at it like this. Willie, it's not like he hasn't been champion, okay, at welterweight. He went up there and crushed Robbie Lawler in 1 round. Stephen won the boy Thompson. He was 2-0 with him. Went in there and had 23 takedown defenses against Damian Maia, a BJJ world champ, and then crushed Darren Till in the 2nd round. I mean, some of the look outside of George St. Pierre, teammate, some of the hardest elbows I've seen. Seriously, I've seen some hard elbows, but freaking Tyrone Woodley was crushing Darren Till with some elbows, and I'm like, God damn, Darren Till, the gorilla, is not out. He ain't freaking sleep. Tyrone Woodley doesn't have to stay at welterweight if he don't want to. It's not like you have to be a 2-time welterweight champion in mixed martial arts to get recognition. You can be a champion 1 time and move up to another weight class. You good. Seriously, you good. I mean, this is not like boxing where you have different multiple sanctioned bodies at weight classes across the board, like the WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO. You know, and the IBO, the stepchild, the IBO, and all the other shit, and then all the damn regular titles, and then the step cousins, the gold titles, and all the other shit. The UFC just has the super, and then they have the interim whenever that shit plays a role. Tyron Woodley can very well just move up the middleweight and say, fuck the welterweight, I'm out. Because either way he look at it, both divisions is going to be tough for him. The only fight that I want to see Tyron Woodley go back and revisit is Kamaru Usman. Of course. Go back and fight Usman and see can you get your belt back. Why go over there and fight Kobe Covington? Why? You know what I'm saying? I don't see him and Jorge Masvidal fighting. But yeah, I seen, people kind of angry once again. Look, people try to treat Tyron Woodley like they do Deontay Wilder. They're like trash talking has never happened before in combat sports. Just because you have certain individuals that do it, they say, oh, I don't like him. I don't like that motherfucker right there, man. He trash talk too much, man. I don't like that motherfucker. I mean, where's that shit coming from? But Conor McGregor can talk about people's family, religion. Come on, bro. Disrespect everything about that. Throw dollies at a truck, and people love and embrace this dude. But Tyron Woodley's talking trash, and people want to act like babies. I mean, come on. Y'all need to change that shit out. If it's too wet down there, change the shit out, throw it in the trash, and replace it. Because y'all talking entirely too sensitive. Conor McGregor's did worse. But Tyron Woodley, he talks trash here and there, and they treat him just like they do Deontay Wilder when he talks trash. Like Tyson Fury doesn't talk worse trash than Deontay Wilder, and then you have Tyron Woodley, like Conor McGregor, don't talk more trash than anybody. I just looked at the pound for pound rankings on the website. Say McGregor is number 11 on the pound for pound. How's McGregor the number 11? These rankings. I mean, the pound for pound rankings doesn't have a C next by it for consistency. We really don't know where they get the freaking criteria from. What's the SOP? Is there a standard operating procedure for the pound for pound list? Man, we don't have no idea. Seriously, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, Josh. I don't know, man. But for Conor McGregor, they're trying to build that man up for relevancy. Even when Conor McGregor was he hasn't fought for years. They were still having that man tag along on the backside of the pound for pound list. If y'all in the building, man, hit that thumbs up button, man. You know what I'm saying? Hit the thumbs up button. Stop acting like we up here just talking about cereal box combat sports. Hit the thumbs up button. You want to donate to the channel? Please feel free to. I appreciate it. Perk said, Josh, you think we should be he should be lower or higher? I think lower, Perky, if I'm being honest. Only reason McGregor is on there because he won 2 titles. And he did what no other champ was able to do at that time. He went over there and fought Floyd Mayweather and made that money. That's why, you know, the love is being shown to what many consider legendary travels for Conor McGregor. Legendary. That shit was legendary, man. Let's be honest. That shit was legendary that Conor McGregor was able to do. Take all his stupidity and buffoonery outside the cage. That shit he did was legendary. It was absolutely just that, man. Willie versus Kobe on Fight Island. They would do Ultimate Fight series with them being coaches on Fight Island. That would be great. And we all know that we would catch that every week for trash talk. Yeah, there'd be a lot of trash talk, man. If them two's on Fight Island as coaches, ooh, that'd be serious trash talk. And we will actually see how good Kobe is coming off the top of the dome with trash talking, because a lot of his shit is written, rehearsed, and regurgitated. Tyron Woodley, he'll give you what he got. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure he got some shit hiding, you know, that he put on track every now and then that he can throw out there too. But yeah, a lot of Kobe shit is recited, and I'm curious to see how they would both do if they was in the fight house together as coaches. We all know the UFC doesn't care what you think. They're promoting the McGregor bus situation. Yeah, when he fought Khabib, the McGregor busted promo for the Khabib fight, he was on borderline racist, and that's during the press conference. McGregor's probably top 30, but definitely not top 15 right now. I think the UFC is done with the Ultimate Fighter. They are focusing on the Contender Series. We'll ever see the Ultimate Fighter. I'm not sure, Josh, why Dana White would even consider doing the Ultimate Fighter when we can barely get fights. It's just stupid to think about. There's no way that can even happen. Serious. There's no way that Dana White would sit up here and collect fighters to be placed in quarantine when we're in quarantine and we really don't have the freaking test kits and everything else to go along with it. It's the right situation to a point because the fighters are in the house, but you're talking about them going outside. At least they're not leaving the property, but them going outside, and then some COVID infectees don't show any symptoms. Some do. It's just not something that's even logical to think about right now. I don't want to see it. To be honest, I don't want to see it. But as far as mixed martial arts talk, that's good shit. Like, I can only imagine if Tyron Woodley and Kobe Covington was in the Ultimate Fighter house. That would be wild. Seriously, because Kobe, he ain't no punk. Tyron ain't no punk. But the trash talking would be so much, man. I think it'll be good for TV. Seriously. But I want to know if it'll be overboard or not. You know? Like, the Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo was overboard. Conor McGregor broke down Jose Aldo before they even stepped in the cage. And yeah, people don't want to admit it, but he did. But he couldn't break Khabib. Khabib was just too tough. Kobe gets advice of Chael Sonnen for his trash talk because Chael and Kobe have known each other since Kobe was a kid and calls him uncle and all that. And Chael, the ultimate trash talker. Chael is one of the only fighters that I know that's a dirty fighter that I enjoy. Like, I got mad respect for Chael Sonnen, man. You know, not just his trash talk game, but him as far as his knowledge on the sport. And Chael Sonnen is not the guy you just walk up to and think you're going to punk. You know what I'm saying? Chael Sonnen gave Anderson Silva the business. And he wasn't even just giving Anderson Silva the business. He was doing it with freaking technique. Like, he was breaking Anderson down on his feet with punches. Like, Chael Sonnen was putting together some damn smooth combinations on Anderson Silva. And you know, Anderson used to doing all this shit right here. Chael Sonnen showed that he could be a pretty damn good fighter if he didn't have all those distractions, if he wasn't a pad user. But he one of the only fighters that's dirty in the game that I like. Like, outside of freaking DC, I think a conversation will be good with Chael Sonnen. The man can talk. He has a mouthpiece like no other. Like, he can talk that shit. Chael Sonnen can talk that shit to you. He's one of the best at it, man. Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck. God damn, that's a classic, man. Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck. Kobe and Willie would be fighting each other every week, and the ratings would probably be great. A lot of people would watch it. I agree. Just like they watch Rashad and Rampage. They talked a lot of trash. Everyone loves Chael Sonnen. He's a straight gangster, and I love him now in his commentary stuff. Now he runs a good YouTube channel. He's a pretty smart guy. He was trying to make money. I agree, man. Outside of DC, I said I would like to speak. You know, the next one would be someone like Dominique Cruz, because he's very smart and astute to breaking down mixed martial arts and combat sports in general. But it's a tie, you know, come to think about it, with Chael Sonnen. It's a tie, man. It's a tie for real. But, you know, I would definitely, any day of the week, I know Chael Sonnen would come with some damn classic one-liners, man. You know, I mean, that's a guy that I'm serious. I could be out here doing research and shit, you know, just reading and listening to vids. And it's not one time that I don't click on the bad guy and tune in and see what the fuck he got to say. I don't care what the description is, because he don't. Well, another thing I don't like about what I like about Chael Sonnen is that he don't overdo his titles. Like, I see some people put the same shit. Like, I'm saying, dude, we're not taking a test in third grade. Like, it's not like you just learned a new word to put on your description to pique the interest of the viewer that's strolling by. Just put your description up there on what the damn vid's about and keep it moving. But Chael Sonnen, he'll put his shit up there. That's it. It's nothing fancy. He just put the shit up there. And he's like, okay, let me see what Chael. I tune in because Chael is basically talking. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. But the Contender Series brings in a lot of money. There's a lot of viewers. So I don't know if we'll ever see the Ultimate Fighter again, because the Contender Series is basically the new Ultimate Fighter. The Contender Series, in my opinion, it's not as good as the Ultimate Fighter. I like the Ultimate Fighter. It just gives you a little bit more personal insight, you know, to the fighter itself. That's all. The Contender Series, you really don't know who the fighter is. Like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Unless you really follow outside of the premier organizations that's out here, you're really not gonna know who. Like, a lot of people didn't know who Sugar Sean O'Malley was. You know what I'm saying? No one really knew. but they knew after he fought on the Contender Series. But imagine him being on the Ultimate Fighter and making it to the finals. But I agree with that, man. That's a good point. It is the new Ultimate Fighter. I mean, one thing about the Ultimate Fighter is in one central location. And, you know, the Contender Series, they travel around. You know? And I like the weather's getting a little bit crazy over here. But also I like too, man, Matt Serra. That's another guy, man. For some reason, I always like Matt Serra. He's a shorter guy, tough, you know. I mean, I always liked Matt Serra when he was fighting. I loved it when he defeated George St. Pierre. Absolutely. If anybody that I was happy about winning the title, I said, good, Matt Serra defeated George St. Pierre. Seriously. I was happy about that. Cruz, Chael Sonnen, and smart trash talkers, they think before they talk. I agree with that. Cruz and Chael Sonnen. They have different flavors to the game. But I remember Dominique Cruz said, yeah, I'd have ran through the whole team alpha male. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that shit was classic. It was savage, man. Say, shit, who else you got for me out of that school, man? Shit. I have no problem running through the whole damn team alpha male freaking camp. The Ultimate Fighter, you get to know the fighters a bit better. You get to see the coaches trash talk for weeks straight. You get some classic stuff for Ultimate Fighters. I would like the Ultimate Fighter to come back, but they will need to change it up a bit. I don't know what they have to change up unless it's the contending format. The housing, yeah. Seeing the fighters compete in certain things for money or something like that. That would be great. But I'm not sure how we can change it up without giving them any more liberty. You know what I'm saying? What could we do besides the competition? What could possibly go down besides the competition? I'm not sure, man. Hey, but anything's possible coming out of this pandemic. I'm pretty sure it's a lot of thought processes going into future shows. I'm pretty sure people sitting down at the table talking, you know, having glasses of wine, you know, talking this shit out. I'm pretty sure it's a lot that's going on, man. Cruz and Garbrandt was great when they was talking trash, when Cruz was talking about Garbrandt's wife sending him messages on Instagram. I know, man. Cruz was a savage, man. And look, DC, he don't come off as that type of guy. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about a guy who drives the Nissan GTR, man. That shit is fire. That shit is fire, man. But yeah, that was savage, man. That was savage. I just couldn't believe how I don't want to say easy of a goal Cody had with DC. I just was amazed that he was able to elude punishment, and even DC wasn't able to really get in on close to Cody Garbrandt. Like, I was surprised that he was able to keep safe distance from DC. I was just totally surprised he wasn't able to land as much as I thought he was, man. That was a perfect night for Cody. All the stars aligned. I'm telling you, man. The gods, the MMA gods was shining down on Garbrandt for him to win that title. Seriously. Cruz said his wife was the man of the relationship. I want to see Cruz and Triple C going at it on Skype. Yeah, we'll see what's popping, man. We'll see if that's something that they would even consider. You know what I'm saying? Why not consider it? If it's on Skype next week, why not consider it? You know what I'm saying? Like, even at the end of this week, why not consider it? Put them on Skype briefly, and let's see what's up. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what's good. I agree with that. Let me check something out right quick. Perky says, so what format they're going to have at the UFC 249? How many commentators and people at the ringside? I have no idea. I'm pretty sure they're going to have minimal staff. They're not going to bring fans, no one included. They're just going to have the commission, you know, the ref. We really don't know the staff numbers unless you somewhere and you're privy to that information. Dana's not going to put out that information. I don't think he's going to put out that information, to be honest. I don't know if it's going to be 10 or less. Why? Because if Florida is opening up, I think you have to check on a media outlet to see what they're going to allow to happen. They're going to do 20. If they're opening it up, you know, if it's still going to be the same minimal, or they're going to open it up and increase the numbers. They're opening it up. They're lifting sanctions. You know, we already opened up certain areas down here in Georgia, but for Florida, for them to come down there and they still got 10 people, I don't think it's going to be 10. The reason I'm saying that is because Dana White initially said they really couldn't operate for 10 people. So it's going to have to be more than 10 people. And it's 3 people already inside the cage. All right. You take 3 subtracted from 10, at least 7 people. So 7 people, you take 3 and 3 people in the corner of each. We're not even talking about the staff, the grade. We're talking about team members. That's a total of 6 right there. So that just totally dilutes the number of 10 when you're talking about Anik, DC, and Joe Rogan. That's another 3. You know what I'm saying? Then you look at the judges, you know, so it can't be 10. No fighters ain't coming down to the cage with no team. It's not happening. I think Joe Rogan said there would be going to be 3 commentators and they weren't going to sit next to each other. One commentator on each side of the octagon. Man, they wear masks. Shit, they need to sit by each other because they play off one another. That's going to be a little whack. You know, bringing in the old school whack, capital W. Man, they play off each other, man. I know they're going to have earpieces and all that shit, but damn. I think they'll bring 2 fighters in. When the 2 certain fighters fight, they'll make them and their coaches leave, bring in another 2, keep doing the same thing. What we do know that the fighters and the coaches have to be there to visually put eyes on their fighter during the fight. Just like they did the blackout card with Kevin Lee and Charles Oliveira before they canceled everything. And that wasn't too long ago. So on deck, actively staying right there on the grounds, 3 people going to be in the cage, period. That's going to be the ref and 2 fighters. 3 per team member, unless they cut that down. 3 per team. That's another 6. That's 9 right there of active staff, not staff, active members there strictly for the fighters outside of the referee, right? So therefore, you got to look at the judges, commission, commentators, the cameramen, all that. There's no way it can be 10. I don't care how many fighters they usher out, how many team. The cameraman is a unit. It's a body. They're there. So I'm going to do some research and make some calls and see how many people they plan on. But they're not giving out too much information about how this shit is all going down over there in Florida. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting for sure. I'm guessing the judges will be somewhere. Josh said, I think the judges will be somewhere. They're gonna be close enough so they can see the fight. They're not gonna be up here like this. Yep, that's a 10-9 round. No, they're gonna be right up there next to the cage, man. They're gonna be somewhere up to the cage, man, for real. If Florida is opening up for the fight to happen, they're not gonna provide. Look, they're not gonna say, well, we're gonna provide access, but you all can only have 10 members for this to happen. No, they're gonna have to allow the UFC to come in there with a little bit more staff, man. Even if they say 10 out to the public, I don't think it's gonna be that. I think the access has been given, the green light is there, and I think Dana White's gonna come down there with who he has, and that's what it's gonna be. No fans, but staff priority. That's it. Let's be honest, usually the main event fighters have to be there hours before, but this time they don't need to be there till like 30 or 45 minutes before the fight. Let's hope the hotels is close to the arena. What's your thoughts on 3 cards in 1 week? Really looking forward to it. You know, any entertainment in the combat sports arena, I'm talking about during this time, of course, I don't care. Look, it can be a card 4 times a week. Now would be a good time to do it, being that, you know, it's no competitors out there. You know what I'm saying? It's no competitors, y'all. This is good shit. Dana White has proven that, I mean, he hasn't proven anything. He's proven his resilience to keep fighting. Okay? That's what leaders do. Dana White has proven that he's not gonna relent. He's gonna keep the pressure, keep the foot on their neck, keep stepping heel toe until he get what he want. He's earned some respect during this time, even though a lot of people are looking at this like, you know what, it's fucked up that Dana White keeps doing that. And then the other people that's really down, you know, that's really about that, they're saying, good, Dana White, you know, you're showing you're a soldier. You know, you're a general in the game. You're the real president of combat sports. You're going to keep on fighting until you find a way. It's certain people that appreciate that type of fortitude to keep on pushing forward, to keep on marching. Some people like that shit. It's good and bad, but you know, people gonna respect Dana White for keep pushing through the storm. Yeah, the number of people that was in Brazil was 50. It was 50. Perkins said they have to separate locker rooms. I don't know how they're gonna do it. I really couldn't tell you, but they're going into a facility that has already been built. So they can have cubicles that's 6 feet, you know, social distancing and all that. And we'll see how that shit work. You know, they can put cubicles up just like they do in boxing and MMA. They're just separated. They have them look, they can still have them in one room, but they'll just be, you know, the correct amount of feet apart. It won't be like a locker room. People still have to go to the same bathroom, man. The building is not going to put extra damn plumbing in there just because they have a fight taking place. The UFC is already spending crazy amount of money anyway. Overeem versus Harris, and Smith versus Glover are the rumored main events for 2. Yeah, I read that. And once again, you know, Alistair Overeem, 18 freaking defeats. I don't get it. If the fighters get tested and everyone is good, maybe they let certain fighters share a locker room, because I know Cruz and Stevens are training hard together, going to be interesting. That's true. They are. They are. You're right about that. They are. I mean, that's a solid point. But if they get tested before they actually get into the arena, I'm talking about into the area where they have to wait, then they may allow them to walk around. You know, just like if you look at it this way, that's a high possibility, because if you go in grocery stores, it's still people in there working, and the customers walk past the employees. And that's not, you know, we're not avoiding one another. We're walking directly past them. They only allow certain people in the store at a time. But of course, in this case, they already know how many people they're going to have on deck. So yeah, these fighters get checked at the door. They test good. You know what I'm saying? They clear. It'll just be they in there frequent as possible. They might be in the same locker room, you know, because if they test it and they say, okay, you cannot leave this area, then you cannot leave. So I agree with that. That's a solid point. 22 fighters and coaches. Don't know if they be separate locker room. If there's 22 fighters and coaches, I don't know if they'll be in this separate locker room. They have to bring fighters in and out of the arena after their fights. What they're not going to do, common sense wise, is be toting people in and out of the arena. I just don't think so. If people are supposed to be there at a certain time, they get tested, they stay there behind in the arena until the fight. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's safety. That's the only safety preventative measures that you can make. Once you're in the building, you can't leave. So that goes for them having food in there, everything else, bottled water, all that shit. And toilet paper. Just make sure we have toilet paper, goddammit. Imagine Cruz wins, jumps and commentary out this fight for the main event. Yeah, that'll be tight. It's going if he don't take punishment, though, because Cruz, I can tell you like this. If him and Cejudo put some hands on him and he take punishment, we're not going to see Cruz come out here just to do commentary when you already have DC, Anik, and Joe Rogan. No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He probably going to jump in his GTR, you know, slam it in second gear, hit the highway, he gone. If you go into a store to get food, someone has probably touched something you're about to touch. So it's probably more dangerous going to a store than a fight at an event getting tested. I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. Some fighters will probably share locker rooms because they are getting tested. And I'm sure it'll be safe for the fighters. Hey, I'm about to bounce, y'all. I've been on here for 3 hours. I've been on here for 3 freaking hours, man. Plus, I got to go show my baby some love. I got to let her out. She's been so nice. I know she's ready to eat. And do you think fighters are signing contracts saying if they get the coronavirus, they can't say to the media? I don't know, man. It's possible with this shit, man. It's highly possible. But Dana White them have the money. Y'all, they have the money to take care of these fighters. Look, coronavirus is taking lives, but also people are surviving it. You know what I'm saying? So look at it this way. If you look at the managers and everybody that's attached to these fighters, I'm pretty sure something contractually is there in case they get the coronavirus. And I think there probably would be fighters if they get it. Yeah, it's probably going to be some freaking something. But you look at it this way, when it comes to fighting, you know, just like the military, you know, you sign up to fight on this card during the coronavirus, during the pandemic. You're pretty much subjecting yourselves to get sick. It potentially, you know, you place yourself in harm's way to catch the COVID-19, right? Virus, right? So on the flip side of that, I don't think fighters just want to lose a job if they catch it and say, you know what, I'm going to sue the UFC. And then Dana White say, okay, you sue us. We don't need your services and we don't need you to work here no more. And then they take you through a process. You got to understand one thing. It's not going to be so easy just to go up here and sue the UFC because they have the attorneys Come on, they have the best attorneys. Shit. You want to spend some money on attorney fees to sue the UFC? Shit. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. So I said, great show, man. Everyone stay safe. Same to you, man. Everybody who tuned in, Hodges, Perky, everyone else who tuned in, Taurus Savage, D Hodges, Denise, appreciate y'all for stopping through. I've been on here for 3 hours plus, almost 3.5. So you know what it is, man. We shall talk about this another day, another bat time. You know, keep your ears tuned in, share the content. Come on, man. You know, I'm definitely trying to get my subscribers up for real, because this will jumpstart, get rolling once again. I want to give a shout out also to Raquel, you know, Coach Anthony Burkett out there, boxer Craig Parker. Appreciate the boxing media that we was able to get into this weekend. Appreciate the hospitality. Superb, man. I appreciate it. Real talk. Much respect to y'all out there. And I'm definitely working on that interview right now. I'm just waiting for it to load, really. I had to make some edits, but I'm gonna post it as soon as possible, and also start working on that the training clips. But like, once again, appreciate the hospitality. Salute to y'all. Much success to your team. And for everyone who tuned in, man, you know, turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports. Salute. And be safe out there too.